Hello, hello, everybody.
Hey everyone, it's good to be here. How are you, Moana?
Well, I am always excited to be here. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a nice day today. It's raining
Oh,
up here, but it was good. I had a nice eventful.
oh, it was like rainy here too. Like rainy and windy and just like, ugh. But,
This will be the last week that I don't have the same background you have.
oh, background, you meaning this?
Yeah, the cool thing, which I have on my laptop and not on my anyway. So no, I won't go
It,
there.
it's fine. We have the pirates slash
I was
steampunk background that we have going on. It's all good. It's all good. So today, friends, to introduce what we are talking about is so we're chugging along on our authority series, and today we are going to look at self-projected authority, so the G center authority. And then after that, we're going to look at ego projected authorities. So both two different types of projectors are going to look into like what makes them different, and something really exciting, we have a ego projected guest that
yeah.
is going to come and share her experiences of what it's like to live her design. So she'll come on later after we have gone through the self-projected section, and we will also do a live chart reading for her. So it's going to be
Mm.
fun.
In cooperation with her, she's a human design nerd like us.
So
Hmm.
this is going to be
It's
really
always exciting. Yep.
and then if we seem a little off today, friends, it's because we are using a new software to be streaming to all of you. So, how does this work? I have no idea if people can see the things like this. This is what I want.
We're
Is
moving
there?
to slides, everyone. In case you don't know, this is what you see on Moana's face is movement through a new software to the slides. That's what we're watching.
Where? Okay, I need some people in the chat. Chat, help me out. Are you able to see slides? Because
I'm
as
not.
far as I can tell, I am not sharing anything. It's saying I'm sharing screen. Yeah, let's look at the Twitch chat and
Oh,
see.
we so
Twitch,
should have.
there's definitely people watching us live. So I don't see them. Thank you. Okay, so let's try that again.
Yep, pull them back up.
Figure
And if
out
not, we can always
why.
talk through it. We can just sort of talk through these things.
Share screen. Sure, share that. This is. Yeah, see, I don't have that, so why don't we just do this thing again? Screen. Uh huh. And then do that, and then that, and then maybe it's because it's a tab. We'll see. I feel like something happened, but I don't see anything. Enable during
You
screen.
felt it? The ones and zeros are touching you? Is that what happened?
No, like my screen is doing something funny. Hold on, let's try a different way. This is tech issues. I should have done this ahead of time, but I did not, which is not. Okay, let's do a window. Let's see if that does anything. Share. Oh, here, interesting. Okay, I see the problem. I feel
There
dumb.
she blows.
That's what I was supposed to do. I wasn't hitting a certain button, and that's why I couldn't see anything.
So let's set this stuff up. Let's set this up. Just
Yes.
what are we down to on authority? We've gotten through the big authorities: solar plex, sacral,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the spleen. There's not a lot left that doesn't take up, but just a percent at a time. We
Mm-hmm.
did the reflector 2 weeks ago, I think. So what we're left with are very small percentages and odd configurations. Mostly, these authorities will be the projector. Sometimes they'll be, obviously a couple of them they'll be the manifester, but mostly they'll be the projector. Excuse me. And these authorities are very much about spontaneity. Each one of these, they have an element of simple spontaneity, what they say, what they recognize. Simple spontaneity, what they say, what they recognize. And this this term I'm saying recognize, which sounds like a projector item, which it is, one of their themes, but it's for both because they both have to recognize. For the manifester with an ego projected authority through the G center, that would obviously it's their identity that's actually ends up doing the talking. It's the ego that pushes it and the motor that says it. In the projector, this is more of literally what they recognize. And so everything, because they'll have an open throat. If one of these is their authorities, they're going to have an open throat. Almost certainly, not always, but almost certainly. And that's going to mean everything has to do with timing. So 90% of these authorities, as it relates to the projector, is about the timing of recognizing when they feel invited, when it feels warm and comfy. And for the manifester, it'll be about the spontaneity of what's being said, rather than the mind thinking it thinks it's going to say stuff. Two totally different things. And that particular creature, I would have to work with closely to get them to see it. And as soon as they saw it, though, they'd be like, "Oh my God!" And they, as always, Moana, you know what? They will have known it. That's what happens whenever someone sees it. It's like they knew it. It happened to you. I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. So
there you go. So the first one that we're going to get into is, again, like we slowly went over, is the G center is what is defined, and there's a lot of openness surrounding. So if you remember from last week, we talked about the other big authorities, right? So they don't have their solar plexus, they do not have their spleen. Self-projected also doesn't have their ego. So it's just their G center up that is going to have definition.
Yeah.
Yep. So
they can have a head center. They can have head and ajna defined.
Yeah.
But that's the only other option. Is that
exactly?
Yep.
So a lot of openness. So a leading question for G center or self-projected authority is: does this bring me closer to my life's decision? So this is appropriate because your G center is kind of like your dowsing rods, right? It kind of takes you in the direction you're meant to go. So that's what you want to be leaning into. So how long it takes for you to make a decision, it can be immediate, or however long it takes for you to get some clarity. And the clarity comes usually by speaking things out loud.
Literally, and sharing that speaking with anybody, speaking it to yourself. And what's most important is, as you're in interaction with the other, which is what this is all about, there's a certain spontaneity. So all of these authorities that we have today have spontaneity as an important keynote, because it's spontaneously what gets said. So you're waiting to recognize, you're still waiting for an invitation. You're waiting for this feeling of accomplishment to do a thing. You're recognizing what systems you like to master. And we have to really keep saying that. They love to master systems. It's really it's a juice inside. And their recognition of the question of, they're always looking into the other. Who are you? Who are you? That's why they penetrate and sort of get into one-on-one, and their penetrating aura locks the other being in. So while they're answering this question, the spontaneity of what is said fluidically in the moment will lead them to more truth than any amount of thinking that could be done.
So like we mentioned, so it comes from the G center, but what's interesting is the G center is connected to their throat, which is why you're, speaking out loud is so important. So it's coming through your identity, right? And let's say you're, invited, pay attention to what are the words that come out of your mouth. Right? Because that, again,
spontaneously,
spontaneous and immediate, right? That's coming straight from your G center, connected to your throat. The openness we kind of mentioned before. So there's a lack of motors, which means that because there's so many open centers, you are susceptible to have more conditioning than maybe some of the other.
Wicked susceptible to conditioning. I mean, we're all totally susceptible, 100% susceptible to conditioning. And the susceptibility here is obviously in the amount of open centers taking in those very easily conditioned, not self voices. For a self-projected, ego-projected, or G-center authority, it's going to be the same for all of them. If that's their authority, then they're loaded down with openness, and no connection to a sacral, obviously. So they get burned out and they get conditioned. Carry on. Sorry.
No. That's why you're here, to like share all the things. So, what was I going to say? The clarity comes out, like we mentioned, when you verbalize, actually use your words, say things out loud. So all the thoughts that are going around in your head, right? Saying them out loud. So there was a really great. Maybe this is in a future slide, but
If
think
the
of like,
timing's right, Moana, if the timing is right,
no, that's not what I
because
was
to
going to
be
say. So the thoughts, picture it like a ball of like tangled up yarn, and when you
right,
say it, the yarn is straightening out, and it's
right,
starting to make less
absolutely,
confusion and more
yeah,
sense.
that's a great analogy. In fact, and
Not mine.
what I was saying still. Well, what I'm saying still it applies greatly because it's about the timing of when you're speaking, when you're feeling like interacting. It's the timing of it all. As soon as so projectors know better than the rest of us. Moana, you and I sometimes barely notice if the other isn't listening. Really, we'll pick it up. Don't get me wrong, we're not obtuse, but I'm just saying we don't mind steamrolling over that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, tell me if, yeah, we don't trying to steamroll over it. Obviously, if it goes on too long, it's the same. But the projector is just keenly aware. So think of all the time a projector spends not wanting to recognize that the other tuned out or tunes out or never tunes in.
hmm
Yep.
what was I going to mention? Yes. So what's also interesting is to know it's not just the things you're saying, but how you're saying it. So the tone
Mm-hmm.
is also a very, very big giveaway. That can help bring some like, oh, why do I sound so deflated when I talk about this?
Right.
That can give you a
Right.
lot of clues. So
It's exactly right. All the whole experience, all the whole sensory experience, pay attention to all of it. And it's not like you have to pay attention hard because you're naturally, you know how to pay attention to yourself. It's the full sensory experience. Yep.
right. So the six-step decision-making guide to projectors to make their decision. Number one, you got to speak out loud and be honest. Don't try to sugarcoat. Just say whatever's coming up through your mind. And the more you talk, the more clarity that's going to come, and the more easy making that decision will be. Let the energy flow out, like I mentioned, through your voice, right? And
And yeah. Well, and the more you talk, the obviously the better of a position and situation you're in. You're in the right place because you're not going to be talking a ton, and as soon as you start recognizing that, it's no good. And if you are, you're only hurting yourself, and you're feeling that too. You're feeling a nervous throat energy of what's the not self of the throat, trying to attract attention, trying to make that attention mean something, trying to finagle the right attention on you so that you can express yourself. If you've got an ego projecting this authority, I mean, if you've got the G center projecting this authority, you're projecting out your big, giant ideas about love and direction. And they're infused and sewn into everything that you're actually talking about. And it's minor because you could be talking about something that has nothing to do with something so big, but there it is. It's there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you're in the right place.
Right. And the types of questions you want to ask yourself is like, is this bringing me closer to my life purpose or my goals or the things that I'm passionate about or the things I believe in? So asking those kind of questions is going to help, start that conversation up for you. And then, pay attention to the truth in your words. But a really good way to, deal with this is have a friend listen as well, because sometimes when you're talking, you might not be listening as closely, but your friend might be able to pick up something. And again, what comes out spontaneously is what, is your truth, right? And
This is what's true, which harkens back to what are the two maxims of law I'm always pointing out. I say it in every reading. I point it out whenever I can here. Seeing it fixes it. And the kid is always right.
Mhm.
Seeing it kills it. Seeing it kills the not self and the difficulty. So seeing it kills it, and the kid is always right. So that kid was spontaneous. And the degree to which they have stopped listening to that is the degree to which, at first their family, and then the parents, and then later friends and others sort of didn't recognize them.
Right. And it, again, like, Danny said, when sometimes you were a kid, you were probably super chatty. So you bring that back, right? Bring that back. Keep talking, keep listening until you start to actually feel a pull in your chest and your body that kind of like is saying
Thank
yes
you, Moana. Yeah.
towards, that, or it could be pushing you back. And that could be like, maybe that's not such a good idea. And of course, all of us are human. So you'll probably have some fear coming up depending on how big the decision is. And when you're noticing the fear, just keep talking through it. You keep
Open
talking.
throat has a fear. Open throat has a fear, but it's the type of fear that's always being drowned out by the mind not wanting it to be there. And that fear is, am I speaking in the right timing? And what it does is it gets in the way of the transmission of what you're saying. So it also ends up being, therefore, am I saying the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Do I even know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stuff like
But
that.
don't let that stuff fester in your head. You want to speak all of the fears out loud. The more you talk through it, even the fears, the more they're going to dissipate. And lastly, the question you want to ask yourself is, does this align with my life
Does it align?
decisions?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Does it
life
align?
decision, life direction. Life
Yeah.
direction.
Does it feel good? Listen, and every type has this sort of keynoted phrase in it. Every type, there's a lot of fundamentals to all of the humans,
Yeah.
regardless of the type. Does it feel good? Does it feel good? I mean, that is literally something that's just so overlooked and underplayed out there in the world. It's like, yeah, it doesn't feel good. We did that in the 60s through the 80s, It's like, got to move on. No, we're still there.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent. So our next point to look at is I love this graphic. Primary conditioning for your G center authority, right? Is you can feel like you talk too much. You're like, oh, like am I too chatty? Am I boring people? Should I just stop talking? That could be something that comes up for you. Also, not wanting to be in the center of attention. You're like, no, like I'm okay back here. Like I don't want to have people look
or
at
the
me.
opposite, sometimes.
The opposite
Yep.
sometimes. Discomfort with public speaking, like maybe you're not okay to speak in front of a group of people, or feeling kind of needy, right? It's like, oh, I don't want people to feel like I'm leaning on them too much.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Feeling like you don't have a sense of identity, or you don't know your purpose, right? That's what this lovely graphic is supposed to symbolize.
Absolutely. The sense of being needy, the sense of the purpose, experiencing a sense of being, well, the adrift part is just not understanding the timing. And I want to address this term up top where it says primary conditioning. What we're talking about is the primary, basically a lot is about the open throat center, about all the open centers, whereby this primary conditioning is the conditioning that's coming in that's causing you to feel this way because you've been obstructed from your original strategy and authority. Hence, your mind is in charge. The mind treats the life like a wretched slave, and it thinks it's nice. I mean, this is like a comedy in a way. It thinks it's great. It's like, I'm working so hard for you,
I know you have the best intentions, but it's not working.
Yeah.
Tips on how to best work with this authority is, if you start saying things like I feel I should, or I suppose I can, that is usually you shooting yourself into doing things that is probably not best for you. Another thing that's great is write in your journal, but then whatever you wrote, read them out loud. So that's really good.
That's a good idea. What a good idea. I'm a 2-4, and I wouldn't even have thought of that. I have a defined throat. I wouldn't even have thought to say that. Thank you, Moana. Right. That's so sensitive. This is emotion. That's Moana's emotional intelligence, going to these little details and
giving me so much
making
credit.
Sure it's not a quick snapshot. No, it's true. You're making sure you do what the emotional solar plexus does. Dude, you take emotional and non-emotional people and take them to the same field and say, take us some landscape pictures. And 4 hours later, the emotional person has gone through every little possible way it could be taken. And 45 minutes later at most, the non-emotional very often is gone unless they started smoking a blunt and sat down or something. It's just,
Anyhow, I
that's
don't want anyone to feel left out. I want to have all the
left out,
authorities
dude.
have
Just
their time. And what's it
take
called?
your due. Take your due. Take your due,
Right?
Moana.
All of us
You
are
are it.
important, no matter if
Yep.
you're, a part of the big two that we already covered, or like the little ones that we're doing right now. Anywho, so a good way to prime your voice is talking about stuff that you love. Right? I mean, maybe you're really into your breakfast that morning. I don't know. You went to a great brunch place, or you watched a really good movie. Just talk about it. Just da 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 da. And it's a good way to again prime that throat center. And when you're thinking about generating content for work, you can also use a tape recorder. So just hit record. I mean,
Tape
you don't have to
recorder is your friend when this is your authority and this is your configuration. Tape recorder is your friend.
voice
Take it
note.
around. Yep.
You use your phone
Tape
voice
recorder.
recorder. Yeah, nobody has voice
Yeah.
recorders anymore.
Tape recorder. I
Use your
just said
phone.
tape recorder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
just use your
58,
phone.
so I'm allowed.
Just use your phone, people. You know what I mean. Anyway, some good habits and good housekeeping for our G Center friends is in the morning when you wake up, say out loud 3 intentions you have for the day. It's like today.
Can I modify that too?
Yes, let's hear it.
And three intentions if you got them. So basically, say them if you got them, and if you don't got them, if you don't have 3 intentions, say 3 things. Say 2 things. Say some stuff. You know what I mean? Because the right-minded person might get all antsy about that and not have them, and then suddenly off into the yonder they go.
Oh
Just
yeah,
say
I mean
some
it doesn't.
stuff.
It could be anything. It could be also simple things, right? Today
You'll
I
know
am
because it feels good. It'll
yeah.
feel good.
Like
That's the
maybe you're
point.
the type of person that is like I like having a tidy house and be like, you know what, today I'm going to make sure to have all my dishes clean or do my floors. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like giant goals. So keep it simple, and then visualize 3 things in the evening that you're grateful for. You're like, again, it could be small
There's
things.
a good thing.
I'm grateful for the
Yeah.
coffee I had. I'm grateful for my cat. I'm grateful that I have.
No matter how stupid you think it is, especially if you're in a bad mood. And the whole experiment with that is you'll recognize I'm in a bad mood and you have a hard time saying those things, or you'll start to recognize, oh my goodness, I'm actually good at saying those things. That's what your natural true self is. It's good at spotting the stuff it liked and getting out of being bummed and so forth. Yep.
Perfect. So,
Yep.
Verbal self-talk. So affirmations, like, whatever you want to embody, you can say that out loud. You can sing it. You can
Sing
read
it.
things out
Sing
loud.
it.
Right? About things that inspire you. Sing in the shower. Just practice using that.
Sing that favorite song that gives you goosebumps. Find that and sing it,
Yeah.
and sing it to yourself and sing it out loud and stuff. Just do that. And that way, singing's always good because you can't really look like a weirdo for singing.
Yeah, exactly. and again, you can
Yeah.
do it in the shower. And instead of doing a silent meditation, actually try speaking things out loud, right? You could do mantras, you can do affirmations, whatever. Just, don't keep it in your head. You're already up in your head. just
Right.
just
Right. Exactly.
use your throat. And use journal prompts like, I passionately believe that. Or when I envision my ideal life, I am fill in the blank. The thing I care the most about right now, fill it in. And it's going to help you, find that direction. And again, mantras, recite when you're kind of feeling off balance, right? It's like, I'm safe, I'm secure, or, I know I'm loved, whatever it, does your thing.
There's a mantra in here that will be here for all these authorities. I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I don't need to know.
Yes, that was.
I don't. Or it's the same thing with I don't need to be right. I mean, those 2 things sort of go together. I don't need to be right. I don't know if I'm wrong. I don't need to know.
So now that concludes our self-projected friends. Now we get into an even more rare type, which is our ego projected friends. So we have, like we mentioned, a guest that's going to help show everyone what it's like to be that. Because again, Danny and I can only give you secondhand experience. There's nothing like hearing it
We
from
need the people.
mouth,
Yep.
right? So let's bring on our lovely guest. Everybody say hi to Moni.
Moni.
Hi.
Good to see you, hon.
Hello.
How was that? Was that more or less than 20 minutes? Do you recall?
The stream said it was at like 23-ish. I think it's at 26 right now.
So we elongated from my original estimates, Miss Moana. That's good.
That's all that matters. As long as we didn't, freight train through it and actually like gave each slide the attention it deserves, we're good.
I'm noticing my body language, and I'm always sort of spinning back and forth. So there's always like this energy. I guess it is. I was trying to hurry.
That's a classic Manny Gen move to me, like just being fidgety.
Fidgety, yeah.
No,
Moni, it's so good to have you. I almost don't know if we want to look at your chart first, or start in the slides first, or we have to go in order.
Context. I'm saying, treat everyone here as human design kindergartners. They're all learning with us, so we want to go step by step. Maybe that's my line one talking. For those of you who have no idea what that means, future episodes will cover that. It will be very exciting. But anyhow, Moni, you can take us through the first slide and add whatever you think will make it even better.
Cool. Would you like me to go and read it?
Yeah. Okay. It's all yours.
Cool. Ego projected authority overview. Truth comes from the ego/heart. Leading questions. Does this serve me? Also, what's in it for me?
I love it.
That one, you really and you feel like a jerk initially because you're like, oh no, you sound selfish, but it's literally we will get lost in everybody else. This 7 open centers projecting into other people, it becomes like whack-a-mole, and it has to be what's in it for me, and am I getting more out of this than I'm putting in? That's a big one. Ooh. Yeah, because otherwise,
am I getting enough? Are you getting sufficiently out of it for what you're putting in? Is what you're really saying? Because sometimes you'll get less out than you actually put in, but it felt so good that you did it in. Yeah.
Well, and I like to think of it too, because it's like the will center. It's like the heartbeat, right? And so it pumps and then it retreats, and it pumps and it retreats. But in order to pump forward,
I love that one. That's a good one.
Thank you. But in order for the heart, for it to pump forward, there needs to be more blood that's going to be rushing in to fill that void. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing that I've come to find.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. This leading question. So whenever we're dealing with the types and the different types of authority, we could craft lots of leading questions. Does this serve me? Really, does this serve my love of me in my motion? Is always your thing? Does this serve my love of me in my motion, hopefully forward,
Oh my gosh, I'm going to write that down later.
That's what the replays are for. It's so good.
Yeah, I almost never repeat these things.
He does that. He just just beautiful poetic words roll out, and then you're like, can you repeat that?
So the next question.
I don't know what they were.
The next question that would go along with does this serve me is the existential question that goes with all projectors. There's only one that's this common, ubiquitous existential. It's what's making you guys guide us. It's this energetic question inside your genome, making your awareness ask, who are you? Who is this other? And every single other, as soon as there's a contact between you and another, there's this, what do they want from me? Or there's this who are you? Or there's this, I know who you are, and this is what you, there's always a who are you? Mm-hmm. And so it's that question goes in, who are you? What are you all about? What's this all about? What are you all about? You got to put that in with, does this serve me? And that, in fact, that whoever they are leads heavily into, does it serve you? Actually, if you think about it.
Well, because the projector, it's we're eating the other person's energy. I will become who I am with, and I've been in some weird places with some weird people. So I've learned to be a lot more careful of it, because it's just I'm going to be taking that in so heavily.
You are the eaters of it. Yes, the eaters, the penetrating eaters whose auras are fixing us in a place. You know, have you wondered why this guidance about the projector has been so like, oh, the projectors are here as the guides? Have you wondered what to make of that at times?
I mean, I could see all the generators buzzing around making a mess of things.
Right, right, okay, right. So that's on the surface. And
Yeah.
that implies a certain amount of middle management,
Yeah.
like
We fix
actual
the,
guidance in
yeah,
a
we
way.
fix the glitches. We're the
Right, right.
code glitchy finders.
But it's
Like,
more than that. It's
okay.
so much more. Well, and it's so much more than that. That's really just the tip of the iceberg because you've already noticed very often you're not recognized by the generators to lead them. And that's okay too. You'll come back around. You're always recognizing the timing of even when to come back around because it's not personal. It's this other stuff that you're always doing to us. Tressa and I had this discussion. I text her every once in a while. I text her a lot. The thing that pops in my head.
That was our
And then
previous guest for those who are like, what do you
yeah. And we
watch
came
the
up with
last
this.
episode?
I texted her this notion. I was like, I figured out why projectors are our guides ubiquitously, fully. It's every time your aura is penetrating us, it incessantly makes us look at whatever it is you're looking at. And since you're looking at who are you, suddenly I'm doing what the generator already has an existential question. Do you remember our question?
Yeah, who am I?
Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What am I? What am I to this? Who am I to that? I'm generating. I'm trying to make a response. What am I to this? You know, who am I? And so your aura penetrates and puts us into that. And that creates human direction. The more we see who we are, the more we move away from trying to generate war and trying to generate just profit and trying to do this insidious things that have now plagued and wormed their way into our society in these really, you know, ungodly, you know, godless ways in some cases. So yeah, that's what we're after.
This takes us into our
what
more
was the
on things. But
wait,
yes,
we missed
sorry.
things. We skipped things.
what was the third item there? I think we passed it because we were
yeah.
just on
So,
question.
yeah,
which
this has been repeated a few times, but yeah,
Right.
you can say if you agree or disagree with that.
Oh, so wait, can I finish a previous?
Yes.
Yeah.
An addendum to the last thing that Danny said, the generator question of who am I and where am I going? And maybe just because that's like my
Yes.
to my identity, it's like
Because we live out the G center. The G center is what we're living out here. What is our love pushing a direction? You know.
Yeah,
But,
and then sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just getting the last question that's like been a really relevant one for me is, do I like where I am? Right? It's the will to the identity. Do I want to be where I am and in the direction that I'm going? That's been a really big one that's helped me like open up and understand my authority better.
The brilliance and the beauty of these other authorities that only consume 1, 2, and 3% of the population, or you know, and less at times, is the myriad of questions. When you're a well-defined I'm a well-defined generator that blunts my questions into one thing. You know, it is only who am I. You know, half the time is what I really have to keep asking myself. And you guys get to, especially projectors. The projector always gets to fan out and sophisticate these questions that they use to guide their direction. And that's another thing. So the projector sophisticates everything, but that's probably in a future slide, Moana. Decision timeframes immediately, however long it takes to let clarity come. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
That's a really good way to like present that information, because yeah, there's sometimes where I'm like, hell yeah, I'm into it. Like I could feel my heart is like, hell yeah, go in this direction. It's like a flutter. And then other times it's like very decidedly meh. Of just like, is my heart into it or not? It's either pulling me in that direction or it's very like meh. And then it's
remember
like,
what I said before. It's okay to not know. It is okay that I don't need to know. So I don't know. Apparently, I think I'm trying to make myself need to know, but I don't know.
Oh my God, the mental side of it. But yeah, that's a really good question or presentation with the time frame thing, because it could be either. It could be very like right now, or like it could just take however long it takes until some other thing lines up into place, and then it's like heart is a go.
Right, and out comes the motor. So that motor does work a lot like a heartbeat. I love that about it. And sometimes it's a long stroke or a shorter stroke, depends. It's, you know, you're the one who knows, but it bursts. It it sprints and then it holds and then it rests and then it sprints and then it rests, and it's always trying to keep itself healthy for those times when it needs to sprint longer than it's supposed to.
Yeah, and there's also an aspect. Yeah, there's also an aspect of like, am I like the identity center, right? It's like geomagnetic location of like where I am in space. And there could be like a I don't know. So if I can share a funny story, I was just at a Burning Man event in Florida, and we go out and we build for it, and it's like a big exciting thing. And it was like where to place the tents, and that, like other people kind of started to come up with their plan, and that didn't feel like right for me. And then I was kind of like, okay, where do I go? And I was very like unsure and a little like jittery and stuff. And then like my boyfriend presents like, okay, what if we face them this way? And it was literally like, yes, that. And so like understanding like the placement of where I am meant to be and getting there, then everything clicked into place. We put all our tents. And then it ended up that every other person had to move their tents to align with mine because that was going to be the best for the setup. So like the ego projector having that sense of where things should be in space, and then I got the go, got it going, and then all the other dominoes will fall into place.
It's so indicative of the individual circuitry. It is the mutative one, and that's the one channel off the ego, which I find so interesting. The rest of the ego is about only the tribe. I mean, it is tied down with a ball and chain to the tribe, which is beautiful.
Yeah, we get
And this
kicked out
one,
of the tribe.
right. But you're also part of it. So it's not, it's both. It's
Yeah.
feet in both camps, because it's that individual, unique, mutative thing that shows up. And you notice you didn't do the work to make the other tents align. You just provided the shock. 51 shocks. It's part of the cross of penetration, 51 and 57. So it is designed to make a penetrating shock. And so when in that moment when you're like, oh yeah, do you remember how fast that was? It was immediate. It was spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
And so there's the bluster of the ego pouring through this identity to make it be true, because it happens spontaneously. The kid is always right, and you see it. Keep seeing it, because seeing it kills the not self. And in that moment, it was so correct that spontaneously the other tents fell in line. And you probably have several instances like that in your life, because shock and awe sometimes is your thing. Sometimes it was too much. You've seen your share of blood on yourself and others. Is that true?
Absolutely. And I'm 6 and 36 for both of my nodes.
Oh, so God. So you've seen your share of blood. Yeah.
But I'll always survive the shock and the crisis. I have 51-6 exalted in Jupiter. So I'll always survive the shock. And even my crisis and impact things, like my crisis, like one of them is exalted and stuff.
Well, what that 25 does is it is the landing pad. I'm a vessel, but I only have the 21. The 51 is not in my natal chart. It's in my Chiron return, but that's not the same thing. And so I've always been the shock absorber of the shock. And so I've always been excited, like a bug to the light, like a mosquito to the light, whenever there was shocking things to do, and luckily, whatever it was that held me back from time to time from doing it too much, it probably saved me. But at the end of the day, that 25 is the innocence. It's and it says a lot about humanity's direction. Humanity's direction is imbued with innocence. Again, the kid is always right. And this really foreshadows, Rod didn't have anything to do with the Bible when he was pouring this stuff out. And yet he speaks of biblical things throughout all of it, like almost to the letter. The kid is always right. Now, in the Bible, that's the same, it's like, they'll inherit the earth, essentially, the meek. And anyway, that's
the innocence and the good will always prevail. The evil is weak.
Essentially, but they don't always prevail, because 51-6s can leap to their demise. That's okay. If it was spontaneous, it was the right leap for them. We all got to go sometime. That's the thing. But they are the big oops, follow me, and they didn't know they were going to say follow me a moment earlier necessarily. Hence the tent, and everyone else orienting it the same way. Love that, Moni.
I have a funny story.
Jesus, I love you guys. I love you, ego guys.
When we're in a good place.
Go ahead, Moana.
This is the funny story. So this is the story of how I got acquainted with Moni. So this is what I do, people. Maybe it's my 4. I'm like, I need people to share themselves on here. And I don't have a giant pool. So let me just go ask some people and see if they're cool with coming on. And my question was, is there any self-projected and ego-projected projectors in this group? And I got, a slew of self-projected people. And I'm like, wow, I guess ego projected is pretty rare. And then, which
It
brings us
is
to the
rare.
slide, right? It's a
0.5%.
rare projector. I kind of learned that firsthand with the just seeing nobody say anything until Moni uses, for anyone who's watched the Inside Out movie, she used a gif of joy, like waving, and I lost it. I'm like, oh my god, unicorn! And then she responds back with the unicorn emoji, and I'm like, we gotta have her on the show. She seems like a hoot
Love it.
because she uses the best gifts and isn't just flat out thinking I'm a weirdo for asking to have her on a show on the internet.
No, and I can imagine I can imagine the projector groups are excited to hear that kind of thing.
No, it's not a
I
projector
bet.
group. It was
It was
just
just like human
human
design
design.
and astrology or something, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
the one.
Yep.
But then
No.
it was fun because I didn't see like your comment that further from that. And then I woke up to like 2 voice messages and I was like, okay, who is this? What is this? And there's this delightful like recognition and invitation. So thanks.
That's wonderful. Leave it up to the impactor. It's a good
Yay.
thing.
But
What are we reading here?
yeah, so I was gonna say,
Okay.
Moni, you can tell us, like, do you think this is true that because of the type of projector you are, you really need to rely on your strategy and authority than just waiting on invitations? Like, you really got to use those two in, I guess, in a
You're waiting on
partnership.
invitations within a spontaneous existence as it relates to your movement, with others primarily. Well, I shouldn't say primarily, at least half with others and half with yourself. So there's a spontaneous nature sitting inside of all of this, and it's not a splenic spontaneousness. So you're always having to be careful about not going too far. But yep.
Yeah, because it's just like I have to make sure I'm putting my will into the right thing because it's going to use that. It's like I feel it's like with generators, it's like you got like a regular like fill up on your gas tank or whatever, right? Like you can go and then like you'll have that energy if you're doing it correctly. I feel like with like ego, it's like the nitro boost where you could like, cool, I can like boom in and you can go really fast for a little bit and then that's going to drain out and then you got to like lay down and like fill it back up. So
How have you been with the laying down? How have you been with the good? So you honor this whole, you just allow.
Now I do. I used to not. Pre-human
You used to
design.
not, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was a mess. I used to bartend.
It was a
I was
mess.
running around. I was a great bartender. I did all the things, but then I'd be drained and exhausted. And I was
Yep.
trying to do everything like everyone else. And why doesn't it work? And I completely like broke my body. I went through this whole crazy like health neuro crisis thing. And then with human design and starting to live correctly is where I started to learn it. And
I've got a good audio by Ra on just sacral conditioning. I'll be happy to send it to you after.
Please. Yeah,
Yep,
please.
yep.
And then
Yep.
I started going to Burning Man events
Good for
several
you.
years ago. Yeah, thank you. And so, I mean, definitely third line bumping into every mistake and overdoing it and then like freaking out and having a meltdown and going through all of that. But then being able to like really like needle in my experience and learn how to take care of myself because being in an extreme environment, which is my design side earth. So like, I feel like I ground myself by penduluming through extreme environments and then finding my way of like, okay, cool. I can do something and then I rest for a bit and then I do something and I lay down and I do something and lay down. And I can kind of coast on other people's sacral energy, but then I got to go lay down. So I will do that everywhere. I'll bring like a thing to lay down on. And then like when it's time to party, like I'm there and I will also be the last one up. When everyone else is done, I'm laying down and resting so perfectly throughout. I can be the last one up dancing and enjoying myself without frying out.
Right. And no one misses it. You're not missing anything.
No. And
you haven't missed shit.
No,
right?
And if I stay, I've done it before where you stay like, oh, but everyone's hanging out, we're gonna do the thing. And you stay for some bullshit. And then I end up draining myself completely, and then I need to go lay down and crash and miss the really good stuff.
Well, your one definition is unique only. It's centering circuit. The centering circuit is definitely looking inward, and it's so unique and so individual in its nature that it's the only way to really be. You know what I mean? It's got to be in the mood. It's just got to be in the mood. Back to does it feel good? Did you say you're
Don't ruin her
46.5?
reading. She has a reading later. Reining
Oh,
you back in.
I'm 46.
bro, she's reining us in. We have to be reined in, shock lady. We have to.
46.3.
Yes, the
We
absorber
will,
to the shock monster.
we will look at your chart.
No, that's me to
and
yeah, that's me to Moni. That's me at Moni. I'm the shock absorber to the shock monster. We're being reined in. Over.
Oh, I definitely cannot stand the shock.
So go ahead, Moana, rein us in.
Right. So yeah, you can tell me about your experience of like having to have people come and extend invitations. I have no idea what that feels like. Danny has no idea what that feels like.
It's really it's a weird one. It's a really weird one, especially like I find for like because we're not like the typical projector because I also just like the 25 is like with inanimate objects. So most of the time I feel like I'm being invited by like inanimate objects and space, like creating spaces, renovating things, designing like creative stuff. Like inanimate objects, like I feel like if I'm in a space and like it's not arranged properly, like I feel like, oh, that chair just really wants to be moved. And I like will rearrange spaces like at parties and events and things. I'll get a lot of those. With people invitations, it's kind of like funny because I'll often get like the premonition early and then I'll jump the gun. So then I've learned to like hold back. But like for one example, one of my bestest friends, she moved out to Salt Lake City and she's amazing. She's a total badass. And because I've like helped her, she's a man, Jen Sunich, I'm her projector. I've helped her in the guiding of things. So then like she ended up like last year inviting me to this like new festival that's starting that she's fire performing at. She like arranged everything, like got me a flight, had all like the tent and supplies needed, like had an RV. So we went down there. Like she provided all the resources to be able to like bring her Moni out and bring her magic to meet everyone. And like, so
Nice.
she'll like, she definitely like recognizes me so much. And then will then like introduce me to other people and then like spread that like, oh, this one's a good one. Like this one will help your life kind of things. So that's been like a good one.
You've got the right profile. You've got the right profile for your definition. Just period. Your profile and this definition, they go hand in hand. Yep.
So like as
So
an
what's
ego
next?
projector, right? So your success is going to be a balancing act of self-interest, right? With decision making and then preparing for the invitation. So like how do you juggle all of that?
I take care of myself a lot. I take care of myself a whole lot. Like I said, I'm constantly laying down. Like I'll do something and I'll lay down and I don't nap, right? Because everyone's like, oh, go take a nap. Or it's like rest. And you're like, no, go be horizontal. Like go like,
Yeah, I get that.
because it's
Believe
annoying.
me,
It's like,
I just
what do you
lay
mean
down.
rest? Like, you know, like it's too vague. Like go be horizontal. I call it my horizontal intermission for when I'm in between missions.
Yes, we need to make shirts.
Because it's perfect.
Be right back. Gonna
'Cause
do
the-
my horizontal intermission. Oh, that's gonna be a great shirt.
It's like the biggest thing because it's just like we can get so buzzed out. I'm doing this and starting this and doing this and doing this, and then you'll keep going and think you're Superman, and then like end up being like a wake of like half-started projects. But if I can do something and I lay down right away, and I do something and I lay down, like it's just this yo-yo thing, then I could be the one who will be up dancing at like 7 a.m. because like I'm laying down periodically and just being there for the good stuff. So that's
The
like
best.
the biggest.
The vessel as an incarnation cross is this adaptability, and if not even adaptability, but with your profile, makes it adaptability to the extremes. It's a full absorption of the extreme spectrum that can even take place and inside of humanity, especially. And the extreme nature of inanimate objects and extreme nature of yourself. Everything about the vessel is about extremeness. But it's not necessarily shocking extremeness. You need that definition for that. It's not necessarily emotional extremes or this or that. No, the vessel tends to be very cool, but that ego is always wanting when the ego is actually projecting this authority. The ego wants its I to be heard, and it's back to spontaneousness. And it should just, the ego people have to become aware of that. It's not egoism to want to have I lead with so much of what is said. That's all.
And if I take care of myself, that's like a big thing too, which has been fun at like burns and stuff and camping, where it's just if I take care of myself, then I could know what other people need. If I notice like there's a party several years ago where like middle of summer, like day of like both air conditioners break, and this is like underground rave type of party, right? So everyone is just like melting. And I was like, well, this is silly. And I had a Ziploc bag. So I took ice and put it on my like neck and shoulders and my wrists, and then I made myself more comfortable. And then I see our DJ looks like he's about to faint. So I like give it
So
to
you
him.
did that, right?
But then it gets better because then I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just take like a box of Ziploc bags and like make 20 of them and distribute them through the party? So I went around and
Right.
going being like a little ice fairy and got to just like take care of every single other person, and everyone just seeing them like melt with gratitude and comfort. So it's like that
This
kind of
is
thing.
this is the essence of the spontaneity I'm referring to. So to take back into stock the projector, mastering systems, right? So I'm going global, back to global, the big question, the big things. So the recognition of the systems to master. It takes on such spontaneous nature in you, that if you think about it, so you mastered the system of putting those ice bags on people. And it's a skill you may never need again. But the joy and the uniqueness in a pulse of being empowered to master that, this is to recognize that is to wake up to whom you are. It's a beautiful thing. You told a story, so I see it. It's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I probably digress. I'm certain I do somehow or
I'm
other.
loving all of
She'll
this.
she'll tell me.
Amazing.
The queen will tell me.
Yeah, the queen. Moni, you can finish us up with the last point.
I'm on the last one. Cool.
Yep.
Ego projected authority entails consistent drive, strong ties to the material realm, and significant openness, demanding self-focus and self-worth recognition. Yeah. I always find the weirdest, coolest stuff to share that will make
Now,
your life better.
is it demanding? So you tell us, is it demanding or is it simply having? It has this recognition, the self-focus and self-worth,
That's wording
recognition.
weirdly. I think what it's trying to say is that unless you intentionally make sure that you work on your self-worth or have it consistently and have self-focus, not in the self-focus that like, this is my words are just
We got to take care of ourselves first. Like at the basic level, it's just like we need to take care of ourselves and our own resources.
Exactly.
Or everything is
it says like me first. It's like the airplane thing, right? It's like put your own oxygen mask first.
Yeah, because I'll have all the goodies for everyone if I take care of me first.
That's it. Yep.
Because it's like we're gonna care about other people, but it's just like we need to.
It's natural. It's nature. Yep.
Yeah,
you're right.
Otherwise, it's like we'll fry out. And I used to do that, trying to help everyone and take care of everyone and do this, and then you're just like, oh my god, I'm exhausted and bitter and resentful. Whereas it's just like, no, I know when I need to take care of myself, and then I could pop out and help, and then it's like help someone. It's like, cool, you got to go take care of it. Like you can handle it,
So do you feel
exactly.
when you have to make a decision that you feel it in your chest? It's like, oh, okay, let's like focus on what that feels like. Is that true for you?
That's been growing. That's been developing, especially within the past year. I actually visited my other ego projector friend in Salt Lake City, and she did an amazing biofield tuning session on me and like broke this boulder off of my heart. And I like just felt it like grow 3 sizes and like really start to lead me. So I feel like before the vessel of love was so hurt, I used to be a vessel of hate, and so
that is our binary. We're cursed with it. I mean, a curse. We're endowed with it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're loved and cared for, then like we will be the most loving everything to somebody. But past experiences were different for me to learn these things. So there's still like a remnant of that like stone vessel around my heart. So she like busted that open, and so then since then it's been growing more. And so it is neat. So like the eclipse that's coming up, I thought a whole plan was happening, and then it like absolutely was not. But the whole time, it didn't really feel right, that previous plan. I didn't feel like that call. I was just, I want to try to make this happen. And then it all fell apart. So I reached out to my other ego projector friend who lives under the flight path, and he invited us over. And as soon as that happened, like my heart was like a flutter, like running down, like doing it. Yeah. So
Right.
it's like neat to feel like, oh, that wasn't really an invitation and recognition previously. It was just my presumption, but it didn't never felt right. But then when we did get like the good invitation, it was like, oh yes, we are going in this direction. Let's have some fun.
Wow. So
Oh,
you've got the chance to with awareness of your design, recognize the juxtaposition of those two moments.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the one that you didn't feel like doing, you knew you didn't feel like doing. How long was that sitting there? Like a day or two? Oh, we might go do this. Maybe we'll go do that. Or
Well, it's
was it?
been like this weeks of, because it was like, oh, I was going to see it with the friends that I saw it with 7 years ago. And then it was just, is this happening? Is it not? And it was this kind of like. And then it was finally like, I like directly asked, and it's like, oh, they have a whole different plan that like, I'm not even like part of it all.
Right.
And so it explained that like, and then there's like a little bit of the sadness and the bitterness. And then I was like, no, I could have communicated better. And then it was
Right.
just like, my motivation is like guilt. So I was like, okay, how can I fix it? Because that's the thing. It's not always like, oh, I'm going to be invited to do this thing. It was like, I want to go there. I want to take my boyfriend there. Like, I want to be
I would
in
like
this
to do a few
location.
things. I want to do some things.
Yeah.
Want to do instead of sitting on your hands hoping it gets done. Right.
Yeah. And so with that, I was like, okay, who would I know under the flight path? And then I was like, well, I have this friend. And then kind of like explained it, but I was like, I don't want to push. And then he invited me out, you know, and he's another ego projector who had the resource for the win. You
Right.
know, so it's
Right.
a funny thing where it's like, it's not always like these direct invitations from people. It might be, I want to go do this thing. I want to be here. This is what I'm doing. You want to hang?
And think about the chemistry. So human design is all about, the genome ruling the chemistry, and it's the genome that picks up the differentiation at birth. It gets minted. It picks up its programming. Essentially, it's programming for us up here on the surface, and it's exact. It's written in stone. We're minted like coins at birth, and you take that subtlety and suddenly it's not subtle anymore when you start to recognize my genome is putting me not in the mood. My not in the mood is taking my energy and directing it slightly differently. That slightly different direction is causing this other invitation to not really materialize. So it's that whole law of attraction thing. I mean, it's in spades. The genome hooks us into our law of attraction along with everything else, apparently. And it's just a beautiful thing. So subtle, so intrinsic. It's a beautiful thing.
So then number two. Should I read number two?
Yeah, sure. I was like, I think we kind of jumped into 4, but you can quickly
I'll just go through it. Yeah. So focus on the sensation in your chest when a decision is presented. Consider how the choice aligns with your desires and goals. Yeah, definitely. If your response is clear, take immediate action. Yeah. If it's like my body will propel me in that way. If uncertain, allow yourself more time to reflect. Yeah, definitely slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just get so excited seeing the potential. Like I can see like everything how it could be made better. Like I have double 44.5, which is like the gate of making it nice. It's like I can see something that could be made better all the time, and having to like stop myself from jumping in on like other people and situations. So it's like, yeah, slow down.
That reserved. I'm one up. I'm the 6th line. I'm aloof. It's unconscious in me, and an open spleen as well. 44 is always looking at, dude, 44 is the regulator of what makes the tribe live or not, essentially, in its material way. It's incredible. Yep.
Yeah. Number 5, clarity will eventually emerge, guiding you towards what truly serves you. That's a good thing that I needed to hear. Because it's true, but it's like, man, when you just when it's out there.
Go back one when it says, if uncertain, also allow yourself more time to reflect. Allow yourself time to reflect and time to not know. Oh, I'm continuing to not know. Hey, are you certain? Give us a thing. Is the juice there? Well, the juice ain't at 100%. I guess I don't know.
Oh, that's good. I needed to hear that. Because my open ajna is just like, yeah.
Yeah, you need to know. You need to know. You need to know. You need to know.
Figuring it out. I'm like, oh, give it to me.
let me unknowingly make you a wretched slave. A wretched slave. Sing some slave songs. Yes, Amasa.
Oh my God, call me out.
Yeah, you're coming out.
That's what the show's
You're being
about.
told.
Wait till he does your chart reading.
Mona, we're doing it now, by the way. I can't look at it because
I know you're doing bits and pieces.
I'm doing it from memory.
We're almost at the end.
So number 6.
I'm already doing it.
If fear clouds your judgment, give yourself extra time for reflection. Yeah, that was a good thing to like double up on. Yeah, because there's sometimes so much of like, oh, but I want to be part of the thing with the people. But it's like, you don't have the energy for it. You're going to be exhausted. And then you're not going to be able to do the thing later you really want to do. Like, go lay down, go chill. And
And
then,
in those moments, if you can ask your own self by now, at least sometimes, do I actually feel like it?
mhm.
If someone's sitting there with a gun, 1, 2, 3, go, do I just want to run towards it? Is that what I'm feeling? And almost always truthfully, the not self mind can't cloud that answer.
Mhm.
You'll find, and then seeing it kills the not self mind. Seeing it kills
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
That's good. And then finally, 7, ultimately ask, does this benefit me? If yes, you found alignment.
Does it
Yeah,
feel good?
yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
worth my while. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be like, I got to have enough reason to do the thing. Otherwise, like, invite me to something better.
Mm-hmm. So
Primary conditioning.
How much of this do you resonate with?
Fear of appearing selfish. Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, it's gotten like easier as I've like gotten my design. But yeah, definitely before, because it's just like, no, I'm not like the worker bee. I'm the specialist who can come in and like get the shit done when it needs to be, but like I'm not your default worker bee, even though I used to be like, I'm a real good housewife, like I'm really good at cleaning and making the things happen and figuring it all out. But like it's not always my role, and knowing like let the big strong people do the things that need to be big and strong lifted and whatnot.
It's very wise. We need our men and our women to be women, and we
Yes.
need our men and women together. The phoenix is due to fly. This change is coming, and we've been limping around. Zach Bush noticed it 4 years ago, and he said it out loud 3 years ago. But he didn't know what he was referencing. I remember I wrote him a big long email. Zach, you referenced the phoenix, and like hardcore. And he's like, we've been limping along. One point in time, we were somehow matriarchal more so, and we were limping along on one wing, not realizing we need our men. And then the men jumped in the driver's seat, and they put the women aside too much, and next thing you know, we're limping along on the next wing. And now it's time for like the black bird, fix that broken wing. It's time to fly.
So my boyfriend is a sleeping phoenix, and he's also a DJ. And like, admittedly, I could be biased, but he's really good.
He's a manifesting generator.
He's a manifesting generator, single definition, defined will. Like, he's brilliant, and like sleeping phoenix. And like when we are at Burning Man, when we are at like events and stuff, like there are times where like I was just like exhausted in my tent, but I knew it was like energy. Like I knew I just needed to like clear some energy, but like I literally could not lift my body. And he started playing, and I felt like my heart like come back to life and like flutter up. And he started playing and brought us to life. And I mentioned it to a friend. He's like, "Oh my God, me too. We were so like messed up in the tent and da da da." And as soon as he started playing, he brings people back to life. The guy who's like in charge of our camp said, he calls him a ringer, because he can like get the crowd going. Like he will.
The ringer, that's an old term.
Yeah, he will literally like bring this life, this like sleeping phoenix rising from the ashes. Like he will bring people back to life. So
and it's always rising. The sleeping phoenix is not the story of the phoenix that's sleeping. It's the story of that the sleeping phoenix is always waking up and rising, trying to rise. It's flying from the ashes too, from the dirt. Yeah,
it's like the second Harry Potter, where like Harry goes into Dumbledore's office and like the phoenix bursts into flames, and he's like, "Oh shit, he's gonna be mad." And he's like, "Oh no, it's okay. It's a shame you had to see him on a burn day." So it's just like we're just kind of at the end of like, hey, the phoenix is looking really scraggly.
That's funny.
Don't worry, he's coming back to life. It'll be okay. Like, and trusting like how that all comes together. So
with this ego willpower of yours, it must be fun at times. And if you haven't done it much or noticed, you'll notice you are. I hijack ego willpower all the time. Whenever someone has an ego, I'm suddenly doing something.
Oh yeah,
I have an open ego.
They totally do
and
it.
So but you can hijack the sacral all you
absolutely.
want, and so you will experiment over time with like I tried too much. It's still working, but I already know it's too much. I'm going to pay for this. I'm paying for this tomorrow, even though you realize there's still some kind of sacral juice pouring through you, but you can totally play with that.
Oh yeah, I do this at parties and burns all the time. This is literally what I do. Where like I will go lay down. I will bring a pillow and go find a spot to lay down at the party, and then like go dance. And like I know I'm totally like I got some of my will there, but I'm like totally feeding the sacral. And I'll perform. I'll do all
feasting,
the stuff, and then I go lay down.
Yes, for you it's like a feast. It's feasting. I love that.
And also, this is really cool too. This was like last year at Loveburn. Then I would totally notice when I was in a good place, I just rested, I did my thing, and I'm coming out looking cute, performing, doing the thing. And I will see everyone around me lighting up. And like they're totally feeding on my good, healthy, happy, well rested ego. And then as I got more
And that fifth
tired,
line of yours, and that fifth line
oh
of
yeah.
yours.
No, but get this. This is really crazy too. But then like as like, you know, a time would go by, an hour or whatever, and I'd start getting a bit more tired and a bit like, should I lay down? And like literally everyone around me would start looking and like looking really scraggly, or like all of a sudden like the icky drunk people would be showing up and like, and
Yep.
it was like, oh no. And then I'd go lay down, I'd rest, I'd clear some energy, I'd come back. And again, I bring this like happy energy that then everyone else is like magnifying my will. And I'm like, oh, I need to be really careful and take care of myself because I'm messing everyone else up if I'm not.
Not only that, you get to be real careful and choose the invitations that attract you, because they're already attracted to you. They're already projecting upon it. They project that upon you. And so you get to choose that wherever you go, whatever you do, you get to watch, and whether you're strategic in your arrows or not is irrelevant. You get to just recognize, oh, they're projecting that on me, but you know what? I don't want that one. I want this one. Just like where you would go for the eclipse and so forth.
Yeah.
I got a riddle for you. When you're at these events, what's the design of a crowd?
Oh, with like the penta and the wa type of stuff
Just
or what?
no, well, that's part of it, I guess. But just generally speaking, it's single. If you, what's the design of the world? What's the design of a crowd? What's the design of a bunch of people in one spot?
I mean, I would imagine, wouldn't that be like an emotional, like manifesting generator? Because everyone would
Yes,
be light
yes. I
up.
wanted you. If you
Okay.
hadn't thought, you thought that through real quick, and I get it. But if you haven't thought that through, recognize everywhere you go. As soon as
Mhm.
there's 3 or 4 people, I mean, as soon as there's 2 people, chances are, but
Mhm.
3 people, chances went up 100%, and 5 and 10 people, chances are essentially 100%. That you're now an emotional manifesting. The world is an not self-emotional manifesting generator. So if you're
Well,
finding all of this stuff, that's what I'm trying to get at. And so that's what we're trying to decondition. We got our work cut out for us. Now you know why me, the 2 4, is on a mission to create an army of readers. You know what I mean?
I'm here for it.
I'm going to be a good soul, and I'm a vessel. So I don't mind being, I don't mind being insignificant. I'm a good soldier. You know what I mean? And I love to shine all at the same time. Um, so yeah, keep that in mind with your as you're doing your thing. Something's got you pretty much in a pretty good place, and it's all these recognitions that you're making, because you could be miserable. You've already seen
I
that.
used to be. I used to be really miserable.
When did
And
you
then
when did you first look into your design? When was the first
um,
time?
the first time was 2018, where a friend
Wow.
mentioned it to me, like in the autumn, and I tried to look it up, and I was like, okay, what is this? And then I tried to find ways to read it, and I couldn't like find videos or anything, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then like 6 months later, it was March 1st of 2019, and I came home from work, and out of nowhere on like Facebook, there's something human design. I was like, oh, I remember that was a thing. I start reading it. I was up till 5 in the morning. I deep dive hardcore for 2 weeks because then I started massage school. So like I was like, I
Right.
need to learn enough to have like a foundation of this to then focus on massage school while still picking up more.
Or
And
you'll
then
go crazy, right? Or
yeah,
yeah, I get it. I
which is
get it.
like I was like I could untangle this like when I want something and I want to learn something. And then through massage school especially, I very much was just like I'm focused on me taking care of myself. I had like crazy health issues going on, and then in taking care of myself, living my design correctly, and then my boyfriend showed up 6 months later, entered it into correctly, and everything just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this is where it's at. I mean, this is what we're looking to do, is keep that mojo going, sort of just like that. I'm trying to move my computer. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Take
Was
your
that what was the last? Was there anything else on that slide?
care of
Yes.
himself. A consistent sense of duty towards others' well-being. Girl, constantly. Like I have to like really stop myself, especially because it's like I said, I used to be a bartender, like a massage therapist. Like I can take care of all the things, and then I gotta like stop. Concern about being perceived as overly focused on material possessions. I mean, yeah, like it goes into like the selfish thing, but I always have, and I find all the best weird little life and body things that makes everyone life better.
You're a
So
vessel. This wouldn't be a thing that you would want to have. Every time you would see it in your own life, you would be like, I don't really want that to be my direction.
yeah,
I'm
it's only like
guessing.
the good stuff. Like I want the
Yeah.
good, like I'm like the chillest, whatever, hand me down kind of gal, and then like I'm gonna find the good stuff, or I'm gonna create it and modify it and stuff. But
That
yeah,
sounds more like it.
yeah. But
Belief that wealth accumulates.
Contradicts altruism. Oh, definitely struggled with that previously and have been kind of fixing and healing that of just like, no, I just need to make sure I can take care of myself so I can take care of, whatever,
Right.
just take care of the
Right.
world.
Yep.
Notion that self-sacrifice is the only form of service. Yeah, previously did too far with that, and then I've learned like, no, hold it back. They got it. But then I could also swoop in and save the day when necessary. But knowing where that line is of when do I jump in?
Be that general whenever it feels good. Don't worry if you got yourself in too far. You're designed to bump into things that don't necessarily work out. You can't make any mistakes. Just keep watching. Just keep watching that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, I mentioned this to Moana earlier in the video I heard of you speaking last time. You mentioned Bufo alvarius. And I was going to say, I help facilitate experiences for people in ceremony. And so that's been like this like wild experience because I feel like I hold that 2551 of like, we're going to go somewhere weird, but it's okay.
You're perfect for that. It's a shaman channel. That is
exactly.
the gate of the channel of the priest and the priestess.
Yeah. And so like I anchor that energy for that other person to have. And then also being able to like, when do I step in and when do I take care of the person and how? And every single time, like I might make a mistake, but I'm always learning each time that I'm helping in a ceremony.
It's moments like that where the mistakes you make are a rolling set of corrections that are needed by the other person in the first place, delivered by the shocking recognizer with the ego will to do just that. It's amazing. I would stick with that all day long. Did you do the Bufo yourself?
Oh yeah, I've done it several times, and then every time when we
was it
someone,
the toad?
Yeah,
I did mine with Dr. Jerry. Do you remember him? He's at Sonoma Desert.
I don't know Dr. Jerry. I know Dr. John.
Okay, yeah. Dr. Jerry was this Indian medicine guy. He came up to Massachusetts, and we did the toad, the full thing. Big giant, big like the cloud that came out of me when I was exhaling, like covered the person in front of me.
Oh, God, good for you.
It was incredible. I only had to do it once. It's incredible.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful experience. And then I love every time when we do it with someone else, they get like their dose and we do a little bit to be in that energy and know how to help them. And so that's really interesting because it's like, okay, I've just taken this. I need to handle it. And how do I handle and trust that it's cool and trust that I can handle the shock and then also be there for the person. So like it's been the most beautiful, like sacred, holy experience to be part of that.
Have you seen the people that had it not so good, or have you mostly seen people that had their experience go very well?
So I've had like an experience. I mean, there's sometimes where people are the Buddha, sometimes they're just like rolling or spitting. I've had things coming out of people and whatnot. And then one time was a wild experience where it was like a mom brought her son because he had different depression, anxiety, different issues, and just like he looked like a wet blanket was over him, like a sweet, nice kid, but just a wet blanket. And so with him, like he like that, it's like some dark entity basically. Like this kid got super strength and like kind of wrestling and keeping this kid safe in the room, making sure he didn't hit his head or anything like that.
First and only time I've ever witnessed a chemistry from something on this earthly planet. And it comes from that Bufo toad. Thank God it's here. So basically nature gave us this. It's the first and only time I've ever seen anything do what Rod describes when he had his experience with the voice.
Oh yeah.
That it's the only time I've ever witnessed the conditioning drop, all of it, essentially all of it. Just drop and become not the conditioning, this deep entrenched thing dropped. The construct of it dropped away. It was gone. It was badass gone. I was like, oh my God, it's gone. The whole,
And anything that doesn't match that level. So with this kid, where it was like some kind of like entity or something, or some kind of attachment, like
it's going to pull you down.
Well, yeah. And it just like, it can't meet that level of like what the Bufo brings. And so like just being with that kid and helping him through it. And it was like intense, but like he came out of it and he looked light and bright and just like 1,000,000 pounds lighter. And he was like hugging us and everything. So just like crazy thing. But like, I knew that it's like, okay, this is going to be real intense for like 15 minutes. And you just be there with it. And like, I can withstand the shock and I can like help out in the ways that I can and learn a lot. And just like, okay, cool. Like things can get intense, but it's going to be okay. There's like a very specific like crescendo wave to the experience. And just being able to learn that and anchor that. And like from the first time I did it, I was like, I need to be of service to this medicine. And like that comes through every time. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's ultimately you should be the administrator of it. When I say should be, you should be partaking in that, however that works. Administering it. That's one of your things. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've ever thought of that, but
well, I mean, it's like that's what I'm doing, like helping out with my teacher. And wherever that goes,
you don't need him anymore, is my guess. My guess
no,
is
definitely no.
intuitively you've mastered the system of Bufo, and you don't need that teacher. You need the Bufo and a crowd to do it with.
No, I definitely like having the teacher because it's like, and plus you need like you want like a man and a woman to like balance the energies and all that kind of stuff. So
That
it's
I
like,
get. That I
yeah, no,
totally
like
get.
because I have
Yeah.
different lessons. I have different lessons still to go with it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and also just handling the physicality of it, where it's like learning that,
I
so
skipped
it's
the
like,
step of not rushing you along. Sorry,
yeah,
not my fault.
yeah, no, I appreciate your encouragement, but yeah, like I'm very much like I'm just going where this takes me. Like I'm good and groovy. I'm just happy to be part of it and be invited and get to help out and do the thing. So it's like it's definitely like a really like beautiful, perfect experience that like every time I'm learning so much.
Mm, mm. Was there one last thing on that slide, or are we done with the slides? Can we pull up the chart? Are we there yet, Ma? Are we there yet? Can I have chocolate ice cream?
You guys keep tangenting, and I don't want to interrupt. That's the whole point of the show, is to tangent away. There was one last point.
Feeling obliged to consider others' viewpoints in decision making. There's
Oh,
nothing really wrong with that.
Yeah, just not letting it take over my
not letting it take over, right?
Because that'll happen a lot, where it's like, especially a lot of times where it's like the decidedly meh response of the will. It's like I don't care, whatever, and making sure that I don't get taken on some direction I don't want to go, because then it'll get weird. So
yep, and the energy isn't there for it. So
tips.
All right.
Gather information about a choice and release it, focusing on your body, particularly your chest and heart area. Yeah, that's really good. Take it in and see what the heart does.
Well, the chest and body is where a lot of the sensation will come. These are the centers that are lit up, giving you this authority. Yeah. I mean, physically in the body, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like, is it heavy and retracting backwards, or is it like fluttery and like jumping forwards?
Is it telling you you're in the mood and feel like it or not? Feeling stuck, if you're feeling stuck, visualize a white light descending into your chest, turning into your heart's feelings. I didn't read that as good as I could have.
Yeah,
Morning, you always read that one better than I do.
It was tuning. Like, think of it like a tuning fork, the white light entering your heart.
I like that. That's really sweet. I like that.
And then we have the expansion, like Moni kept describing, often signifies a yes. And if it's a contraction, it's probably a no.
That's a good one to remember, and like to like specify in that wording. That's good.
Yeah, it's about the keynotes. That's what this is all about. Get this language in there so it's working. Yep.
Right. Then like every time you hear it, it hits a little different, and you're like, ooh. You take in like more little aspects of the keynotes.
Right? Don't shy away from asking tough questions to get that clarity.
Don't. I bet you do sometimes, but I bet you also totally don't other times. Do you find yourself holding yourself back when you have something difficult to say like that? Because the open solar plex center does do that to us.
Yeah, it'll sometimes, like I'll hold back, and then it's like, oh shit, Moni's quiet. And then it's like, then it could like explode. So I have to make sure I don't like explode it out. But like it sometimes can be difficult because I have a completely open throat. So like no voice of my own. So sometimes it's just like completely not heard until screaming would happen. So I don't want to do that. So trying to learn how to like, okay, how do I sooner say, hey, no, not cool, there's an issue, whatever.
How about in the moment when you have no choice in the matter and it's either tough or you don't say it? How about that? Where we can't talk about it. We can do no mental chatting about it. It's too late. It's there, it's sudden, it's spontaneous, and you either have to say a hard thing or not. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll definitely be the one who says the thing that needs to be said at times.
Good.
Even if it's like super uncomfortable. Yeah, no, like it's like, yeah, I can bring some like really hard truth and like very much change things or bring things to a halt or make things go in another direction. Yeah.
Truth is shocking. Truth is shocking.
Yeah, no.
Very much so, yeah.
That's definitely a thing where it's just, oh no, this needs to be said, and like it will just explode out of me, and that goes.
And the last one, checking in on limiting beliefs about money or self-worth. you could, that would definitely be one. It would be a subset of a larger thing, checking in on self-limiting beliefs, just generally speaking. And money would be a big set of that, and just material direction. Ego is concerned with material direction. The individual ego is not as concerned with material direction. It's concerned with its own unique creativity and a pulse in a moment.
Oh, that's real true. Because it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, money. But then it's just like, I feel it's like, I feel like I'm
No, the
preparing-
other three gates are dealing with money. Don't worry. Money's all
Okay.
covered with the ego. The
Oh my God.
51 does at times, but that's not its primary shtick.
Yeah, no, that I love hearing that, because it's like I'll feel that guilt or that pressure that like, and it's just like, I can make all this other magic happen if the resources can just be like, if the money could just be handled, I could fix everything.
Right.
So I definitely
This is
feel
the good
that.
news. This is the last slide. So you keep
Read it off,
power.
Moana. You read through it, and we're gonna Moni, can we cheat and not ask or give any input so we can get straight to your thing? But don't tell Moana that that's what we're doing.
I don't understand the question, but probably.
So Moana does, so we can get to your chart quicker.
Oh no,
Let's just-
he just wants me to rattle it off. So you know,
yeah.
so meditate and envision your dream life, right? But picture it without any constraints. So like whatever you can have, just, and even the material aspects. It's like, you know what? I want satin pillows. Picture it. You know,
That's
want
good.
whatever you want, right? It's like I want a maid to come in once a week to help me clean. Like whatever thing, like just do not put like, well, it's not realistic. Like let it all fly. And journal about questions related to your authority, right? And be honest, and don't worry about anyone judging what you're writing. Just give yourself a free pass. And boost your self-worth by affirming your deservingness in front of a mirror, like our beautiful photo demonstrates right here.
Actually, I can like one up that.
Let's hear it.
This is actually some like really cool deep shit. So a mirror, a typical mirror will actually like, it reflects your image, right? So it's actually flipping the left and right side, which is why you don't look like yourself, right? And so I actually met this guy who made a true mirror, and I actually purchased one where you can actually see what you actually look like to other people.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's real crazy, because it's like if you look in a regular mirror, like you look a little snide, the light drops from your eyes, the smile gets a little shitty, right? So it's actually confusing your brain because you're seeing the left and the right wrong. And so what he said is, if you look at your eyes in a regular mirror, it's actually reinforcing all the not you, all the anxiety. Yeah. So now getting this true mirror, and so I'll look at it and I'll tell myself I love myself and say these nice things and connect with myself. So what I kind of see it as is actually reconnecting with the real self, as opposed to looking in a regular mirror, which is actually reinforcing the not self. So
love that.
Yeah. So
wow, that's what an incredible thing to notice. I love that.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I really wonder like how much like true mirrors would be able to help people in like actually connecting with themselves, seeing themselves with the light and the brightness that other people see them with. You know, people with like, you know, different body dysmorphia and different issues or different anxieties, to actually reconnect with who we actually are instead of reinforcing the doppelganger.
Oh, that's wild stuff.
The doppelganger hooked into the not self matrix. Yes. What's next?
Engage in a challenging yet enjoyable breathing exercise or a workout routine that strengthens your willpower / heart. Whatever gets that blood pumping, right?
Yeah.
And you already mentioned this. Repeat mantras such as, I deserve what I desire. My desires are part of my path. All the things. And then,
I don't need to be sure.
Yeah. I don't need to know everything.
I don't need to know.
I don't need to figure it out.
And then, learn.
Especially when you don't know. When you don't know, that's exactly when it's too late. You don't know. Sorry, Moana. I have to keep putting that in there.
Yeah, I know. Learn from successful individuals who helped others and got wealthy doing it. So it can show you that, you know what? You don't have to be like Mother Teresa is the only example that's coming to me. But she did a lot of bad things. So maybe don't use it.
You don't need to take a vow of poverty. Let's just like
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I got you.
You don't need to do the whole.
You don't need to be a threadbare saint. Right.
No, the more stuff I have, the more I can share, the more I could do with it and create it. So
exactly.
That's definitely been a big thing for me lately. and like different podcasts and people I listen to.
There you go.
Love
And
it.
see, now you're on this one. But yeah, that's all your tips. And here is Moni in her beautiful body graph.
Where are the arrows?
PLR, DLR. So my top arrows are left, my bottom arrows are right. So my brain is always going and my body's like, gotta chill out. So it's like in the raw audio, it was like Renaissance man. It's just like hang out, chill, read stuff, do things, and then let the body.
People see the active. People see the activity in you. That's what they see. People see the leftness. Just so you know.
Oh,
So
and I
the
jumped around
so
a
the
lot.
both independent variables are left and both dependent variables are right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, left
Yeah.
over right.
Yep. Okay. You're right about the mirror thing. To me, I was seeing you point the anyway.
Yeah.
That's funny. But right. So
Oh.
so go ahead and ask a question that you've been wondering about your body graph all this time, because we've been talking about your body graph this whole time. We haven't done much with the you know, with as it relates to the actual incarnation cross itself and the 3-5 profile. We've done a little bit about that, but what's it like to have all this openness? So
Oh, it's
before you
wild.
came to human design, tell me about all this pressure you were under to be who you're not. And
Oh, yeah.
we're talking about the root center now,
Oh, yeah.
to everyone who's watching.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a lot of pressure, a lot of busyness, a lot of energy.
Did you feel that missing of not having the right drive when you were starting to realize you needed rest? Did it suddenly feel bad? Because the
Oh,
gate
yeah.
of being driven and the fighter and all these three off the left of the spleen are all about doing something. One's about freaking identifying stuff that you're about to make a judgment on. The other is fighting for a purpose, and the other is a drive, a fighter drive to like succeed.
Yeah, yeah. It was always like, very busy family and like extracurriculars and like this church choir and the Polish church choir and like Polish school on Saturdays because it was all Polish and then dancing and more dancing and all these like so much trying to keep up, and like I could not keep up. I could not be like my sister or my dad
Mm.
or even, my brother. So like that was really rough, and like felt a lot of rejection to it, or like trying to like do the thing and like be good at sports, and it was just like, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, kind of constantly going. Never a rest. There's not like, oh, we gotta like build in a rest time for the kid. It was just constantly going until you like fall asleep like on chairs somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think
they
I just fried myself out in every possible way until my Saturn return, and then I just like exploded and imploded, and like everything
so
gave
when so that was at your Saturn. How old are you now? I no
out.
birth date on
36.
this chart.
I just turned
Okay,
36.
Thursday. Nice. That's right. You just turned. So, and then when you add this in with the open sacral center, so what we're doing for everyone who's watching, we're moving up through the open centers because we've been talking the whole time before about this defined ego and the defined G center. Now it's time to go up and watch how the being is going to describe themselves, how Moni's going to describe the transition that takes place once you start seeing it, because the not self needs a timely death. It needs to be drawn and quartered. We need to kill it. So, but we can't do that until we see it. And to kill it really means just to put it back in its box, because it's always going to be there. It's just it needs to not be in charge. So moving up to the open sacral center. So here's this pressure. You have desire coming out of 41 of being intermittent, showing up, going away, showing up. You have spirit, gate 55, which is always part of everything that points anywhere. And then you have this open sacral center that loses track of when enough is enough, because the conditioning says you never run out. Conditioning, generator conditioning says you're always good to go. You'll get a second
27
win.
is like, I want to care for everybody.
And I want to care, right? So put these two centers together, where you have the pressure to move and the pressure to be in a hurry, and to be in a hurry to get rid of the pressure, under pressure to get rid of whatever the pressure of the thing is, mixed with not knowing when enough is enough. Feel that out for me.
I was a really, really good bartender. I was a really,
that says
really
enough.
Not self bartender, of being able
Right.
to like manage everything, anticipate everybody's needs before they even know they needed anything, create all the systems.
And when you
rearrange
first
the
did it, you
system.
felt amazing, didn't you? When you
Oh, yeah.
first were doing that, you felt like $1 million.
Oh,
The
yeah,
warrior,
it was,
of your definition comes alive.
Oh,
The
yeah.
definition you have, 51 is the warrior, 25 is the gate of innocence and the love of all things universally. and the warrior is always leaping into the innocence. That's how the warrior survives. That's why we make all our movies about the warrior. It's our hailing, not of the warrior's leap as much as of the warrior's landing and the innocence that ends up saving them. It's their innocence that gives them the power to leap in the first place. Otherwise, they're leaping like a madman, and they end up like Custer, or they end up like Geronimo, or they end up like Napoleon. They leapt too far. Like all of them, actually. They all leap too far by accident. But so, yeah, not knowing when enough is enough as it relates to this beautiful definition that can do this. It's almost like a bit of a manifester. Once it gets the recognition, you're going to be a good bartender. At that moment, you're a little mini microcosm of an actual manifester. You got a motor attached to a thing that is trying to move in a direction. You're a manifesting direction maker for moments at a time. And then suddenly you lose track of when enough is enough. So what prices did you pay, and by what age were you paying the price?
Well, definitely the Saturn return breakdown.
Okay.
Like that.
8 years ago. By 8 years ago, this was coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it started before then.
Of course.
It definitely started earlier than then.
Absolutely.
And even like as a kid, it was just building up, and then like
it started by your late teens and 20s.
Oh, even earlier. Yeah, absolutely. Even earlier, where it's just like things aren't working right. But yeah, and then it super exploded at like Saturn return time. But then it was also like it was about like part of it was that I had a copper IUD, and then I ended up with like heavy metal toxicity, and then like the copper messed with my connective tissue and like my collagen and my elastic. So I literally like turned to Gumby, and I couldn't hold my body upright. Yeah. So I literally like all these 7 open centers, I feel like everything knocked me around, and I bent so much until I broke, and then I couldn't hold myself up. So I had bracing on every single joint. I had neck joint, back braces. I lived in a rubber band for like a while. Like it was like this crazy thing.
You realize, had you been totally within your design during this time, it's entirely likely that copper IUD would have been an irritation you chose to remove rather than a part of a systemic issue. Because the not self does all this to us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. I thought I was being empowered.
Right.
Poison.
Right.
Absolute poison. But, it's my journey. So, yeah, that happened.
Of course.
And then along with like the collagen stuff and the connective tissue stuff, and then my neuro started getting super crazy with sensory sensitivity to the extreme, like to the point of brain seizures. It was a whole crazy many years. Yeah. And so I remember asking my doctor, I was like, am I dying? And he's like, well, you're dying faster. And I was like, okay, so get better or die was basically the situation. Yeah. And so that's how it kind of like really with the will to the identity is like, am I going to have the will to live and figure this out myself? And I'm like, I'm not taking pills. I'm not getting surgeries. I'm going to figure this out. And I took like a long route. And that also coincided with Burning Man and going to DeBurns and camping events because
I can't tell you ever went through any of that. You're not wearing it. You don't wear it.
I'm doing great. I'm doing super great. But that was like the Saturn return chunk, and then like slowly fixing it. But yeah, going to Burning Man and stuff was like burner boot camp, and like strengthening my body and like learning how to take care of this vessel that like is not like anybody else. It's 0.5% of the population. So that's where I would then and I'd go out dancing, and by going out dancing all night is where then I reactivated different muscles and strengthening it and learning like, how do I handle a party at a warehouse that's going to go till 10 in the morning. And slowly developing that strength in all the different ways while learning how to take care of myself while also being able to share my gifts with people. So it all just kind of like slowly we put all the, Humpty Dumpty pieces back together again.
So at what point in your journey with human design did you recognize, I guess it was that moment before you had to take that class. I guess in that 2-week period, that's when you saw it all. That's when you started your experiment.
Yes.
That's when you were surrendered into, I will see about what this stupid recognition stuff is.
Yeah. And just like, okay, what is this chart? What is this system? How do I understand it? How do I break it down? Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this and just deep dive and just like.
Can I tell you, I hated my strategy in the beginning. In the beginning, I've told the story several times, but in the very beginning of my human design awareness back in 2007, 8, moving into 09, I remember I denied it at first. I called bullshit. I said, we don't have this tech yet. We don't know yet. And I remember saying Next thing you're going to tell me is, jumbo jets can take right angle turns in midair or something like that. We don't have that tech.
Uh-huh.
Little did I know that within a month or so, I would be contacted. My teacher would basically show me, and I would be so dumbfounded that the 2-4 in me got called onto a mission ever since, and so, yep, that's how that works. Let's see, this 36 in your nodes. So how have you dealt? So what we're diagnosing here for Moni, everyone who's asking, 36 is on the right, coming off the solar plex center, moving up towards the throat. And 36 is this gate of crisis. And that's what the I Ching called it. They didn't know. And it's this gate of not knowing and this gate of like inexperience and a nervousness that can want that experience. And it's designed to push us into new experiences. And it's designed to gain great emotional intelligence from it. And ultimately, this is the gate when it wakes up the most that is designed to start to tell the rest of the planet it's not that much of a crisis.
Yes,
it's just a thing. You're gonna see it. It's always just the thing. As this gate wakes up more in humanity, more will we tone down again the killing of everybody. We're still doing that. That's not for us. We're not designed for that. I mean, we're just not. So 36, tell me about where crisis of not knowing and feeling inadequate at times and not sure if it was going to be good enough and all that stuff, all that mental stupid, especially through puberty. Oh, dude, through puberty, guy. Yeah. What was that like?
I mean, all of the things you just said. Yeah, definitely way too curious to experience all the things that like I was not. I was too excited to grow up. Especially like not getting along in like school and people my age and just being an exhausted, bitter projector that was also amplifying everyone else's like teen angst and misery and getting involved with like far too adult of things. And then just all the crises that would come from that. So that, yeah, definitely. And with the South Node, with the 6, it just would always just feel like an invasion or a punch in the face, where there's like a part of me that's like almost ready for like the Uranus opposition. So I angle more.
6 is 100 times more violent than is 36.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
I'm like
6 is part of the WA. 6 will slice.
Oh yeah,
6 determines if 59 gets in. Doesn't matter the aura that broke down. 6 is like, yeah, you broke down my aura, big flipping deal. I will acid you to death. It's the pH. I will basic you into a puddle of goo if I don't want. I can't. What line is your 6 in?
So 6, 5, and 6, 1.
So
I
have a 6 as well. I got 6, 6, 6, the peacemaker. I forget what 5 is, but so all of these, you got a lot of themes off the solar plex. So here we are. What we're doing is we're stacking up the conditioning and how we diagnose for someone how you get the hell out. Basically, you got out. You got 7 years. You've been in your experiment for essentially 7 years.
Yeah, I'm in the 6.
Were you? So you were hardcore into the experiment in those 2 weeks. You didn't.
Oh,
it didn't fall off and dull into the background within a few weeks.
Those 2 weeks, that was like I am learning the foundations of this, so I have enough to keep picking stuff up while I'm in massage school. So I was still deep into it in massage school, but it was like 2-week human design boot camp that I just like went in hard. And then continued just picking it up, and then using Burning Man and parties as like my experimentation zones.
All things start with human design at this point. There shouldn't be a medical exam, a psychological intake. There shouldn't be a freaking military recruitment. There shouldn't be a job hire or a get married without having that little lapel with your design on it.
That'd be my dream if I could just look at people and like, I don't care about any other VR, AI, anything. If I could just like have something where I can see someone's design and know how to communicate with them.
Right. Just to see it right off the bat. And so what we're doing right now is we're trying to, for anyone who's listening, the people who are watching, is we're trying to keynote the open center so you can see the incredible diagnostic that this chart is. This graph is a scientific diagnostic, mathematically guaranteed to tell us what your genome is doing to you. So under pressure, not knowing when enough is enough, solar plex center is not sure of the confrontation. Will it allow it in? Is it too much? Do I have this nervousness that I don't know how to handle? Is what comes out of the solar plex center. It's emotional nervousness. And then over onto the left, we have the spleen, which hangs on to things that aren't good for it. And I have the same 44 unconscious as you do, different line. And that's all. It's my only activation in the spleen, just like you. And I remember for me, it's this fear of extinction. That's the fear that's there. The fear of like not making it. The fear of like the tribe's going to go dim. The fear of things are going to get dim. These resources won't go where they need to go. It's not going to work. The bridge is falling. Hurry. And it prompts certain spontaneousnesses that aren't ours. And it holds on to those things. So it ends up holding on to what wasn't good for it. A person, an idea, a thing, all these things. So you add up, I'm just doing below the throat. You add up these four, three of them are motors, and one of them is an awareness center, our first and primordial awareness. And you get holding on to things that aren't good for you, not knowing when enough is enough, under pressure to get rid of the pressure while trying to avoid looking at things that it might be hard or dealing with the thing. Do you remember all this playing out? How did that work for you? Because you might have bypassed some of that. I never know until I ask.
I bumped into everything.
Everything. Okay.
Third line. I will learn every way not to do it, to learn to dial it in.
What did you hold on to that wasn't good for you? Do you recall? If you want to say.
Relationships.
Yes.
Staying too long in situations and
yeah. How about ideas? Because you mentioned you keynoted ideas.
Yep. Absolutely. Definitely like have been ideologically captured in different ways and then like popping on and be like, what the was that?
Oh God, the certainty that wants to be held about an ideological capture. You're right, because that's what we see a lot of today.
Oh, tons and tons. Yeah. So being like snapped out of that and help with medicine too.
On our world, you're awake to the ideological capture that's going on now, would you say? I mean, yes. I'm fully awake to it. The only reason I don't mention it is because I promised Moana I wouldn't make things political, but or whatever. Okay, all right.
Speak in the vague, broad things. Yeah, no, I was definitely very caught up in some things, and then have been shaken out of them, and then be like, oh my God, what is this? And then I can see it as like, okay, everything is going to have that purpose and meaning to it, or I'm going to create some good meaning out of it. So I feel like, okay, I went through that, so then I could maybe help translate the experience for others.
Right. Hopefully,
throat.
Yeah, hopefully do. You got to shock them awake. When I want to shock people awake, I just wear a Trump shirt or a Trump hat, and it makes people have to face something. I'm like, and I'll see it in them. I'm like, are you facing something right now? Is there something happening in you? And it's so shocking. I love it. I say it right to people in the supermarket. It's funny. You face it. Is something come up? Something coming up in you? Is that what's happening?
Well, and it's like I have to be careful with like who I say what to, and that's been good. See, well, it's been good lessons for me because it just like no one ever suspects the butterfly. You know, and it's just like, okay, maybe
your profile demands that carefulness. Everything that 3-5 profile demands it be practical.
Yeah, because otherwise I can just like, I could shock people and like mess them up a little bit. And so learning to like, okay, hang on, who can I talk to in what ways? And then when they're right, be like, ugh, and then bring that shock in.
Well, think about this aura in this experiment of yours that goes on forever, where you're witnessing the things that take place. If the aura physically penetrates, don't forget the aura is an electromagnetic field that is transmitting our design, amongst other things. It transmits every speck of this design like Wi-Fi, but faster, because it's immediate and it transmits all of that. And for you, because it has the energy to physically penetrate. Do you know where in the body the projector aura actually penetrates?
Isn't it to the identity? Like
it turns right into the G center.
Yeah.
So it penetrates into that which will be the direction of the other. No wonder it makes them invoke their existential question.
Oh, yeah.
Your penetration makes all three types invoke their existential question and every other question.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go.
I was going to tell you something wild. I got to tell Moana about it earlier, but a friend of mine, my other ego projector friends, both of them went to this human design conference thing out in like Austin a month or so ago. And one of the things they did were these aura experiments where one person would sit with no one in their aura. Everyone's like far away. And they would sit with their eyes closed and like feel into their own energy. And then like one by one, other types would approach them to see when they would feel the other person. And so my ego projector friend said that he could not get within 25 feet of somebody without them feeling it, because the 2551 is the aura breaker. But like a splenic projector was like right up in on people.
It's the 59. The 59 is the aura breaker.
I thought 2551 was also like an aura breaking. Or
no, what it is it's because you're penetrating the identity of the person. It's a fucking set of shock paddles.
Well, yeah, especially with the 59. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
So like,
right,
okay,
right.
yeah,
Well, if
yeah,
they have the 59, then totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a pair of shock paddles with the 59 brake. Yeah, he's right. That you can't get within hardly anything.
yeah. But like a splenic projector could get right up in on somebody because they probably just felt good,
Yep.
and that unearned trust of the defined spleen.
Right, right, right. And if they learn to trust it, that makes good sense. So that's this penetrating aura of yours that penetrates the identity center of the other
With that shock.
with shock, with
Oh,
shock and innocence and a deep love of all things. And so that's what innocence is. Innocence is it's all great. That's what innocence says. Innocence is a child where everything's great, including my fist in my face. You know what I mean? That's great too. Um, it's all great. So, so moving up from this, actually, so what has this been like in your life? Did your parents, were they strict, or did they let you, were you given somewhat of a free rein?
both in weird ways.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, tell me about this.
like, so on the one hand, because it's like very like Polish, Eastern European like parents and like very like religious and whatnot. So on the one hand, there was a lot of strictness with some behavior, but on the other hand, like way too lax, especially because I was the youngest. So by the time it got
Mm,
to me, it was like, just don't do anything
like
stupid.
whatever, she's still alive. Is there a pulse? Put a mirror up to her. We're
Yeah.
good.
Oh my God. Yeah. So there was like a very weird things where some things were like way too strict beyond like that's not cool to like some things where it's like where was anybody to look protect me and look out for me in ways. So it was really definitely like a bit of both, especially like my mom was a manifester. So she like figured out things on her own. So she just thought, oh, they're fine. And
Right.
then my dad would have he's got the what is it, the 50, yeah, the 50 with the 27. And like with his thing, it's like being a zealot. He can totally be a
Yeah.
zealot and being like
Yeah.
overly. So
Yep. It sounds like you also read the lines. I'm really proud of you for that. I'm so glad. A lot of people skip the lines part.
I love them. No, I can't
The
wait.
lines
I
are
want to
juicy.
memorize them. I want to memorize them. So I'm just like,
They
okay,
memorize through reading. So if you'll let
yeah,
me teach
totally.
you after
Yeah.
the show, let's make sure we trade info. If you'll
Yes.
let me teach you, you'll see you'll be able to afford it.
Oh yeah.
Um, Moving upwards from the G center. So here we have the experience of this person who's had a lifetime where it sounds like 50-50. You were allowed to be yourself plenty, and or you snuck away with it because the
Yeah.
3-5 profile knows how to go underground.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got into some weird shit.
Yeah, good, good. So you needed to. That was the thing. And you needed did your parents ever give you the honey, you made that mistake again routine of in any way with different words maybe,
No,
but
I feel like I didn't get like the communication of things. It was just like bumping into shit and figuring it out, and then very strict on certain things, but completely like not like I should have
no.
learned these certain
So
lessons that I had to figure out
the
on my own.
word mistake is one of the larger conditioners for a 3-5 profile child. Just that word mistake, and it projects upon them a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then to have a mistake and it be projected upon you at the same time is like a double whammy.
Oh yeah.
It definitely will make that open solar plex center just not want to deal with that
Uh-huh.
necessarily.
Oh, I used to
And
dissociate and check out completely.
right until it got to be too much, and then the warrior comes out, and now
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, wow, this is an overreaction, which as a child you don't notice.
My life of things where I'm like, hey, this is a thing, this is a thing. The open throat not being heard at all,
Right,
completely
right.
dissociating, and then finally like turning into that dragon. And then like the thing with that projector where it's like I feel like when we get completely drained and we just break, it's like a shock wave that we emit of like, get away from me.
Right.
So
Yes.
everyone's energy can go away and we can finally rest and recover. But it's like that's draining. I don't want to do that. So yeah,
Your
that would
aura.
definitely be the thing of like, why is Moni freaking out? And it's like I've been trying to tell you for this
You and the
entire
reflector's
time.
aura are the most communicative. I would submit that
Mhm.
yours is, but we could make arguments for why the reflector's is as well, because it does sample. It
Yeah,
samples and then pulls back, and it samples and resists.
yeah.
But since yours is penetrating, literally,
Uh-huh.
it's also sampling. It's penetrating and tasting. But because it's such an active thing, you can actually put out that shock wave
Mhm.
that says, "Don't get anywhere near me." You can communicate out that aura intentionally.
Oh yeah.
When I say intentionally, it's not so much you can choose it because it is independent of your will. It's
Yeah.
happening regardless, but you
Yeah.
can witness what it is
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be clean enough to recognize, no, of course it's going to be this because I want them to get away from me. You know what I mean? You'll recognize what's true, in other words, is all I'm saying
Mhm.
in a nutshell.
Mhm.
So then You add in the open throat, head, and ajna, and the head center is trying to think about too many things. I mean, it just is, and yours is completely open, so it doesn't even know what to think about, which gets confusing all by itself and chaotic.
Yep.
And then it ultimately tries to wonder if it should even answer the question. It's trying to answer too many questions, and in the end, it can sum it all up with thinking about things that don't matter.
Yep.
To you right now. That's its crime. The crime of the not self of this open head center that treats us like a wretched slave is it thinks about things that don't matter right now. It doesn't matter if you need gas tomorrow, if you need to pick up some milk on the way home. Right now you're listening to a song, for instance, or whatever. Right now it's always about right now. Don't worry, you'll be empowered. You'll go to the store and get the stupid milk and you'll have 100 more nows right then. So right now it doesn't matter. And that's what we do. And then the ajna is always dealing with its certainty. And you've got 3 themes off of there. So the one that comes through the most is the one that will resonate with your individual definition, 24 and 43. And 43 is the one that is the most hungry. 24 just tortures you and makes you have to realize the things I can't know, I have to let go or else I go insane.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things you can't know, right? You know, describe to me the nature of time before the Big Bang of the universe. You know, oh yeah, sure. I promise you I don't know yet. You know, things you can't know and they'll drive you insane. So you end up having to let go of that return, which intermittently would show up. And if you had a big family, it was always showing up. But 43 seems to be the most aggressive. This breaks through, and that breakthrough it's hungry. It's hungry because what and it's a not self hungry and it's a true self hungry. It's true self hungry is to notice that I feel good at that I want to break this through. And the not self is I feel obliged and I feel like I have to and I feel like I better or they won't understand my position and I should have said this and I should have said that. About this breakthrough, about this insight, because it is responsible for most of the insightful mutation on the planet, this 43. Because as its mutative self is, think of what it's doing. It's decoding sound that has no words, no shape, no form. It's decoding nothing. And it's helping with the help of 23 to become metamorphic and spit it out the throat. But without the 23, it's still there decoding it. And it's got no outlet to the throat. So the frustration of all that, oh, I know. Oh, I got the, oh, let's, but that thought isn't complete. You don't have it complete yet. And so describe that I guess you resonate with that experience, huh?
Completely, like the 24, like looping and trying to figure something out.
The looper. Yep, loopers.
Well, it's like the open head is like the figure it out loop. And so like
Yep.
I've been able to like with my boyfriend, because he also has the completely open head and that's our only open center together. So like we've learned of like we're in a figure it out loop. We need to separate. So that's been really helpful. And then the 24 would like try to like and go over and over, and then getting to the point where I'm like, I'm never gonna know that. I need to be back.
I don't know, right?
And I just need to be on Earth and like be with the things that I do know. And then yeah, definitely the 43, because it's just like, oh my God, this crazy stuff that will come through, and then I try to like
I can't read the lines. What line is 43? And it's 2. Is that right? No, that's 41. 2.
Try 43.2
2.
and 24.
Do you have it again?
Hang on, I'm finding it. 24.6. So 43.2 and 24.
I'm just concerned with the 43 right now. Let's take a quick look at it. Do you have this particular book?
Right here?
This is the Bible. Oh, you held yours up. I thought that was a reflection.
No, I got it. I pulled it out.
That was weird. I'm like, what just happened here? That was crazy. What's 43?
43.2.
Freak. I love it. Individuals are freaks. We have to get used to that. Some people have a hard time with that word, maybe a little bit, but it's really a badge of honor. I mean, the freak isn't bad. The freak is wonderful if they know the right timing. That's all.
It's even funny because our Burning Man group is the Freak Easy. Like our music group is the Freak Easy. So yeah, absolutely. Always been a freak.
So the uniqueness here, because everything about the 43 and all the individual circuitry strictly is its uniqueness. It is the mutative change agent. That's what the individual definition does. So 43, it's in a second line, and that has a general keynote of it's just projecting out that it's a natural at something awaiting to be called and something that lights it up. And the ego will be perfectly aware, along with its identity, that it's lit up. And so now your insights, every time you have an insight about where the house is going to go, at the Burning Man, all you were called into that becomes a calling. So when this insight is called out of you, it becomes a desperate force to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a certain desperation because it's so unique that every one of these things could be a thing that changes the entire world at any given time. That's what uniqueness does. It doesn't matter who you are. It's always working, and it's always the first time that ever happened. So your insights, you're blessed with a rapid fire set of mental insights that for you, it's intermittent. Sometimes they're not there because it's in an open center, but as it's working, which it's there most of the time because you're around other people and there's transits in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's around happening, this is something you need. I'm sure you figured out by now. They're always new, everyone. So 10,000 a day come through in any given day, or 1,000, whatever it is, and they're all brand new. The universe hasn't heard them yet, even if they sound exactly like someone else's. I guess once in a while they'll be the same as something else. Like, I guess there's no rule against that, but mostly there never are. It's always unique out into the world.
Oh, yeah.
And it hurts when you can't have it. Mine's a third line. It's a third and a 5, and plus this 2 harmonizes with the 5th line profile. So it harmonizes. So when it gets the call, the general suddenly can go do the thing armed with the natural of the insight. Dude, so when the insight pours out of you, and it's truly you because you're lit up by it, you're naturally got a knack for whatever that dang insight was. No wonder you're good at it. Is that,
Yeah.
I can't say that again, but.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, yeah. Like when the right thing hits, it'll be
It's a
nothing,
calling.
nothing. But then when the right thing hits, I'm like, I need to go do this, and I'm just gonna deep dive and like do this for hours and hours and hours.
And
a
you
day.
get called you can be called about this insight, this breakthrough, this sudden knowing. It's the knower. 43 is the foundation. It's one of the foundations of the knower, the knowing channel. It's the knowing circuit. And it says, I know, because that's the voice it speaks in. So sometimes people will get a little bit annoyed, I imagine, in class or at times because you have I know as a voice.
Oh, I was
now
insufferable.
it's not the voice. It's not technically 23 is the voice that says I know. That's its voice. I know, but 43 is pointing right at it, and it does know. So this is a thing.
Oh yeah.
So you would always come with this energy that says I know.
Oh yeah, I was insufferable.
And it doesn't mean you know. The insight doesn't mean you know. It only means you know when it's finally being expressed. And even then you don't know. You're 3rd line. You're finding out. You'll find out.
Oh,
and
that's
so that's,
good.
I guess,
like that.
Yeah, that's the mantra. The mantra is I don't need to know, or I can't know. It's not even my right to know, because I'm asking to know something that's a minute in the future. Technically, I could be struck dead between now and then. What do I know? We don't know a lot, and we have to recognize that. Having the insight doesn't mean we're right. It just means we know something, and we're probably onto something. Mine's where yours was dedication. That's what it does. It brings this dedicated calling out into the world. Like the priest that's called to go to the African jungle and tame the savage beast and bring the word of God. Now, his kid's 18 years old and he's filled with the glory of God. He's going out there on a calling. You can't stop him. Kid, you might die. I'm being called. Father, I'm going. Yeah, he's going. Can't stop these creatures. Can't stop that insight that way. Mine's expediency, a powerful drive to get the thing out that will suffer condemnation and rejection, and it doesn't give a flying flock what it suffers. It's got to go. Ridicule doesn't matter. But yeah, you put all these things into the ajna, so the ajna is concerned with certainty. And so by now, more than 7 years, do you feel like you've done a 7-year cellular cycle? Does it feel like you have?
I don't feel like I'm done yet. I don't feel like I know I'm like.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just like I know I'm like getting there, and I have like the Richard Rudd's like 7 years on the cycle, and that one's really, really fun. And I definitely like at that 3.5 year mark, like I felt that 51%. I felt that shift over. And then like the last like year, the 5th year was like really super good, and like just further. I don't.
The thing is, here's what happens. I've noticed this, and I don't know that we start our experiment at the moment that we understand that, oh my God, there's something here. I have a feeling there's a little bit of confusion, and there's like, for you, it would be, oh, I'm certain this is the thing, and suddenly you'd be bringing mental ideas into what it's supposed to mean. And so there's something that tells me the experiment of the truthful experiment part of it doesn't quite start until it's almost like we got to wake up and rub the sandman out of our eyes and wash our face, shave, brush our teeth. It's the first few months or even the first year can very much be doing all that stuff before you're in the experiment.
Yeah.
So I don't know I can't tell when I started my experiment. I've got 15 plus years in, so I'm done. I've done it twice ish, but I can't even assert to that. I might have only done it 1 3/4 times or 1.5 for all I know.
I feel that. I hear that.
Yep. So that's cool. So when you add it all up, you managed to not become a wretched slave with all of this openness.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thanks. It's been a lot.
Well, think about what this third line profile does for you. First of all, it's very wise that you separate from your husband. What you're talking about is basically go to your own quarters or someone go out with your buds or do something so that you're physically
bedrooms. Like,
good.
He can spend the night with me sometimes, but otherwise, it's like your stuff's in your stuff, my space is in my space. Like he has like a music studio.
How did he feel about that at first? Was he pissed?
No.
Of course okay, good.
Like we entered into it so correctly in the wildest way. Like we literally spoke for 3 minutes and then like everything just like magic happened. So he was just like ready to dive in and invite me in and then see where it goes. And, we've had our bumps and fumbles along the way, but like he's super great and human design has been like brilliant for us. But yeah, like we have different schedules.
You recognized him. You saw him first.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's what you guys do. You guys recognize stuff. And the dumb Phoenix had no idea you were looking at first. Even if he thought you were hot the second he saw you, it was still, when you recognized him, he was still being a dumb generator. He didn't know. Is that true?
Well, so we literally
I'm talking in the moments, in the moments.
Yeah, no, in like the literal moment of like this crazy thing, because a year ago he went to a thing and ended up like at my bar on a night like I don't usually work. He doesn't drink. He's never been to this town. We literally spoke for 3 minutes and I was like, oh, this one's interesting. And then I had to deal with the drunk guy. And then the night went on, he was like playing pool or something. And I was literally walking out with like my coat in my bag and ran into him as he was walking up to get another drink. And he was, we were like, talking and whatever, but he wasn't going to ask me out because I was working. And I had just enough bravery to say, would you like a hug? Which turns out to be a sacral question. And then I had a sense of if I walk away from him, I will regret this. And I asked, would you like to connect? Because I had that script from a friend of mine who had heard her say that enough to then trade information and then like go off into the night. And then we started talking the next day and like, we're just hitting it off. And then I took him to a burn 3 weeks later.
Wow. Yeah. What a story. I love that. So basically, life sets these things up for us. You realize you wouldn't have been open to any of that had your parents crushed your spirit more than they could have crushed yours. Dude, you've got both gates of spirit. You've got the spirit of the true self, which is innocence, and then just the gate of spirit itself, 55. So
that's my moon.
Oh, so that's a drive. You did the right thing. Think of what you did. Projectors need to recognize and see this as part of their experiment. You can't just be an invitee, an invitee only. I mean,
it won't work.
But you are the recognizer of, now that I'm here, does this feel inviting? Does this feel like I'm being recognized? Do I feel like they see me, for me? So at the same time, you're also putting into this strategy of yours while you're waiting for the invitation. If you recognized the moment, then your definition and your true divine centers did exactly what they were supposed to do. They leapt into the innocence of your question, which really was burning inside you. This was perfect. You wouldn't have had that had your parents crushed your spirit by accident more. Sounds like they left you alone about half the time or more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's huge.
Yeah.
That means you were always moving to the half that they were leaving you alone, unless they were giving you something that was cool and you needed. But short of that,
I was going away and hiding away, and
you were always knowing that you were on your way out, and you could mostly, because half the time they didn't do anything about it. That's an amazing gift to leave you less conditioned en masse than you could have been.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's a good point.
We vessels, if we're lucky, we seem to run into this a lot because the same thing happened with me. There's something about the vessel of love that nobody really wants to smash it in the face easily. I'm not saying you won't get smashed in the face. I'm just saying it's harder. It's hard. There's something that stops There's something
Uh-huh.
very Michael-esque and Daniel-esque inside of this vessel of love thing. I still am always looking for words for it, but it is the empowerment of humanity's direction. And with this definition and with being a vessel and your parents leaving you alone half the time, you would have always been looking out, essentially, especially with those personality arrows pointing to the left. You would have always been, I'm looking past whatever controls my mom and dad are putting on me, hence not living them out mostly. They may have left you alone half the time, but you lived out their controls of theirs only about 3% of the time, or 8 or something, not
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
always resisting. Even if I was forced, then I was resisting in my own way.
Right, and as soon as you weren't in their sight, you pretty much wouldn't. Whatever you would
Yeah.
you would revert as best you could, unless it was a hard rule that you just knew about or whatever. But so you could have been. Do you feel like trying to You know by now when you're reading for someone, what we do is as soon as we get through something, we then start to stack up all the keynotes to deliver a statement about this not self and flesh out the color of this story that diagnoses the not self of this being, or at least a big part of it. Do you think you can run through? Do you feel like giving it a try? If not, I'll do it.
I think. Well,
do you know what I'm asking?
Let
me put it that. Okay, I'm asking you to take the 7 open centers in your body and string the not self of them into a sentence, into a phrase, into a little story.
Okay, so like I'm just gonna go through them first, and then like we'll see, right? So it's like the open route is like being in the hurry and always feeling that like zap to go to start something new.
Hurry.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, is starting something new and getting it done and like adding another thing to the to-do list.
Hurry.
Then the sacral is just like keep going, keep going. Right?
Keep going, you got it.
The open solar plexus is like half terrified of like, are you in a good place? How do I keep you in a good place? Please don't go into a sad place because it feels like molasses and it's very heavy and I don't want to deal with it. But then the open spleen is like, but I don't want to lose you and maybe I can fix it and make it better. Then getting caught in the figuring it out loop of the open head of like trying to answer the question that no one's asking me.
And that's not going to get known anyways, most of them.
No, I lived in that lost place and it's like, no, let's get back terra firma. And then,
thinking something's wrong with you.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the ajna trying to know that trying to prove that I know everything. And if I know everything.
Are you certain? I got this bluster ego. It's going to prove it. I know. I told you I know. I'm certain.
And then like that's how I'm going to show everyone. That's how I'm going to show them all if I just know all the things.
Right.
And then
and
the open
throat leading into that. Yeah.
Well, and the completely open throat, right? Because it's just like that's its own different thing that like I don't have my own voice, but I have all the voices of all the things. And I could talk to anybody about anything.
You do have all the voices, and as you start to learn the timing of the shock monster that lives in you, with the vessel as the empowerer, with a gate 2 no less. The gate 2 is the seat of the monopole. You realize that, right? The gate 2 is the seat of where the magnetic monopole literally is hooking us into our trajectory. Gate 2 is the receptive yin that says, I am receptive to direction. So the love of the vessel receives the shock of the ego, and gate 2 is receptive to that direction, and boom. Gate 2 is in a hurry, by the way. It's a part of a tantric channel. These 3 gates pointing down are all very tantric. And gate 2's tantra is partly in a hurry. Let's get to the beauty, make it prettier. Let's get to bring humanity together and share this with everyone. I don't care about that guy's extremes. I don't care how I feel because I feel great. I don't care what the person says their behavior is. It's fine. It's welcome. I don't care if you don't like that guy. We love everything. We want to love everything. We're not kicking anyone out unless they're trying to kill people or something. That type of thing. That's you. And so I forgot what my point was.
Open throat, learning the timing of the shock monster.
The timing of that. Yeah. So you take all that. Thank you so much. You take all that and allow it. The open throat, just the beauty of the open throat, fully open throat is, you're right. You have all the voices. And you have access to every one of them, and to morph in and out like a creative chef with all kinds of fondue going and all that good stuff, and your shock and your love to get out, waiting on the right timing. So this open throat, it's part of its treachery is it takes the being out of the right timing. You got a breakthrough gate that's trying to break through. I'm trying to break through. Timing, short circuit. Oops. Not only no breakthrough, but total bitterness, frustration, rejection. It doesn't. Yeah. All the while, your big fat ego is saying, "But I'm good." So that gets confusing.
Oh,
And the gate 10 gate of behavior is saying, "And I love myself."
I
Screw
have
that.
it 4 times.
Screw that.
4
Go
times.
ahead.
I have gate 10 4 times. That's all. It's
No way.
4 times. On Saturn and Uranus on both sides. I got 10 and 11.
I see that. Third, and I see another fifth one. You got 11 a couple times too.
Yeah, 10 5, 10 6, 10 5, 10 3.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19. Okay, 19 gates here. Yeah, right in the pocket. 18 to 21. That's what it always is. Between 17 and 21. So yeah, those are the things. Can I string it together in a sentence? Like if we were on a reading and I was doing the thing and I was like, yeah, so listen, you did a good job. So in your conditioning, what you saw was the ringing out and the witnessing of the not self script that comes through not knowing what to think about and having that be a mental anxiety that you think you're supposed to be certain, and it causes you to fall off track with the timing of what is it you even say, leading to all kinds of emotional nervousness about different confrontations you're not going to have, not knowing when enough is enough and holding on to ideas that aren't good for you, and then suddenly being in a hurry to get out of it all, and the whole thing comes together, and now you're in a hurry to get back in because you're holding on to it because you didn't want to necessarily let it go, and you don't know when enough is enough to even stop thinking about it. And it plagues you, or you would have issues with that. So that's stringing them all together. And the thing is, when it's a lot, it sounds grandiose, so it is best to take it in parts. But you see, when we read for someone, they get diagnosed by our capacity to stack these keynotes up and put them into something that's a story. You're perfect for that. You're going to be perfect for that if you want.
Yeah, I'm into it 100%.
Me too, dude. I get called into this. By the way, I teach at all hours. I don't care when. You know what I'm saying? I don't set a schedule for teaching. We just go all out. I would have been perfect during your 2 weeks. I've been on the phone with you like 100 times. Yeah. No, this is this. Go listen to this. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. Hurry, run. You know, that would have been us. Hurry, listen to me. I have an open route too. Hurry, run. You know what the open route does for us? It lets us know, because that's not my pressure. It's not your pressure. It's one of the mantras. That's not my pressure. It's a big mantra we get to give ourselves. It lets me know when I feel really good about a certain amount of pressure, it was the right pressure. And now I'm empowered to be a pressure being perfectly. It's perfect because it was the right thing for me. How do I know? It felt good. I wasn't not in the mood. I didn't not know. We have to get used to the fact that it's awake beings on this plane that 70% of the time or more, the answer is, I don't, maybe. Do you love me to your last dying breath? Mostly, right? There might be some dying breaths where I choose to love me a little more, honey, but I love you a lot. You know, you can't tell. We don't know. There's a lot of maybe, and we don't know. And that's when we're supposed to wait. And the waiting is hard at first. Did you find it hard at first? Some of this. Yeah, it's like projectors suck. I don't be stupid, that kind of thing. I did some of that myself.
Yeah, of course. Waiting, bitterness.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Right.
This is fun.
Yeah, right. Mine was like, I'm not frustrated. I don't have to wait. I'm a doer. I don't wait till I've got the same Phoenix channel your husband has. 3420, and my daughter has it, and I don't have to wait. I can do. I'm empowered. I'm special. I'm a vessel. I'm special. I love everything. I love me. I do this. And 25 wants to be a not self 51. I'll prove it. So it was so hard knowing that, because I have a split definition. I have that 43, but no 23. It's the only bridging gate that would bridge it all. So when I can't explain it, which is that I wasn't waiting for the right timing. I don't have to wait. I do. No, you wait, my child. Buddha, you surrender and you wait for the responsive energy to say okay. Just like you surrender and wait for the ego will to say it feels good. wait, my child. Buddha says. And if it hurts, good.
No, that's
how
good.
you,
That was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, yes, I need that.
yeah, that's how you learn. Well, I'm feeling complete. Moana, how
Mhm.
did you know that was a completion moment? I was just saying I'm feeling complete, and a little tooth fairy lady pops in. What the F is that?
I'm listening very
Did you
intently.
hear
I can
that?
tell.
Did you?
I can see the projector fading. That also
That's
helped.
crazy.
The projector's like, nap.
Yeah, that's a lot. All right. Well,
Yeah,
It's
no,
anyways,
great.
that was
It's super great, but I could feel it like a few minutes prior where I was like, oh, it's gonna start winding down.
it's
And then
winding down now.
I
Yeah.
felt the very specific click moment, and then I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then like writing this out, and then there's like
Right.
breath of fresh air, and like Moana pops up, and we're like groovy.
Well, Moni, where are you located? Are you in the
Chicago.
U.S.? Chicago. Okay, so that's an hour back. That's Central Time,
Yep.
right?
But let's
Coolio.
bid our
Yeah.
streamers do, right? We can say, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate all the viewers that we have, and please, please, please give us a follow. It helps our channel immensely. We're trying to get to 50. We're slowly inching up, so
Yeah.
tell
Come
your
on,
friends
people.
to come watch.
Line
If
them up.
you're watching the replays, please still follow us. And yeah, we have a really
Come learn human design, dude. I've got the energy to teach, and I know how to respond.
right. Yeah, like ask us questions in the chat. Like that's what we're here for. And next week we have mental projectors. And I know I said we weren't going to do lunar, but then I realized I don't want to shaft anybody, so we're going to go through lunar authority anyway. And then we're going to maybe do a special episode. We will let you know. It is going to be very different from anything we've been doing. So I'm just going to keep you on the loop.
Do I not know what this is? This is a surprise,
you do
right?
know what this is, Danny.
Okay,
Oh my God.
okay.
I told
No,
you.
I'm excited. Of course I know. Yeah, I'm excited now. Whee!
Yeah, and then eventually we're going to get into profile lines. So that's going to be
Right.
fun.
Oh, that's
Just
right. I
giving
do
you
know. Yeah.
an
No, that's
overview.
great.
Yes, friends,
Hey,
thank you again.
Can we
Yes.
ask Moni, would you be willing sometimes? I'm doing this out of the blue, so I should have talked to you first. See, this is where etiquette leads me, but I would love to have you as a co-host from time to time because you got you got good juice as it relates to this knowledge. It helps.
Expanding the team. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
I mean,
going to end this stream. This is a Pulse team wow that does not need to be streamed. So, friends, thank you for watching. Give us a follow. We'll see you next time.